Chapter 239. Li Fan and Yin Xiaoru were not in a hurry to find the owner of the golden Buddha. Instead, the two of them sat down in the courtyard of a small restaurant in the town. It was a small courtyard with 3 tables inside. Apart from Li Fan and Yin Xiaoru, there were 3 townspeople sitting at one of the tables. Li Fan and Yin Xiaoru ordered a bowl of chicken soup and a bowl of scrambled eggs. After the boss served the dishes, Yin Xiaoru asked casually. After the boss served the dishes, Yin Xiaoru casually asked, "Boss, why are there so many people dressed as government officials in this town?" "I'm not sure, but I heard that old Jin's family committed a crime." The boss was a 40-plus-year-old middle-aged woman. While wiping her greasy hands on her apron, she said, "I heard that old Jin's family had a treasure that belongs to the country and must be handed over. These people seem to be from the government. They said that old Jin was secretly hiding a national treasure and was arrested by these people." Yin Xiaoru and Li Fan looked at each other. The two of them could see the doubt in each other's eyes. Has the genie guards lost their moral integrity? The owner of the golden Buddha is innocent, but they would actually do such a thing to the owner? Yin Xiaoru seemed to be a little anxious. She wanted to stand up, but Li Fan pressed down on her shoulder. This time, Li Fan smiled and said to the boss, "Boss, why did such a big thing happen in town? I just came from another county to find my uncle. I'm so scared that I don't dare to go. This is quite scary." "Whose family are you two nephews?" The boss seemed to be a little nosy. Li Fan secretly pinched Yin Xiaoru. Yin Xiaoru quickly said, "Old Xiao's family." "Yo, old Xiao's family has such a spirited nephew. It's really rare." The Flying Flower town was not very big. Therefore, many of the townspeople were familiar with each other. "Boss, where did you find out that these people are from the government?" Li Fan asked. "Last time, when a few people from the government ate here, I secretly overheard their conversation." The boss lowered his voice and said, "I've already told you, don't tell anyone else." After that, she went to serve another table's dishes. Li Fan and Yin Xiaoru could vaguely hear their conversation. "Old Jin's family is in trouble. Don't tell anyone." Well, she had spilled the beans herself. This is a trap. Li Fan whispered in Yin Xiaoru's ear, "Old Jin should be fine, but I'm afraid that the Jin family has already set up an inescapable net, waiting for you to take the bait." "No, I'm worried." Yin Xiaoru seemed to have lost the calmness of a great thief at this time. "Mr. Jin is my benefactor, I can't just watch him get into trouble." "Calm down. Think about the consequences if you go there rashly." Li Fan reminded Yin Xiaoru, "Even if you're caught, it won't help. But with you here, everything can still be discussed." "I can't sit still, even so, we still have to sit still." Li Fan continued to remind Yin Xiaoru, "Let's wait for Guan Wenbao and the others to come. Don't forget our plan B." "How would I know what your plan B is? I don't like your lousy team at all. It's not ideal, not professional. I've had enough of you. Other than money, you don't care about anything else. I must have been blind to have found you." Yin Xiaoru stood up angrily and walked out of the yard. Li Fan quickly took out the money for the meal, put it on the table, and chased after her. "Young man, coax your wife." The boss even kindly called out to him. Li Fan rolled his eyes and thought, "If I had such a worrisome wife, I would die of anger. In order to live a few more years, it's better to stay away from this girl. When this mission is over, I'll stay away from her." But when Li Fan left the yard, he was surprised to find that Yin Xiaoru was nowhere to be found. This stupid female cat burglar, relying on her qinggong, where did she go? Li Fan was really angered to death. How did this woman become a great thief? With her personality that couldn't hide things, how could she live until now? Stupid woman. Idiot. Stupid. Li Fan cursed. He probably knew where Yin Xiaoru had gone, so he asked the boss for the location of Mr. Jin's house. Then, he went to Mr. Jin's house. At that time, Yin Xiaoru had already used Qinggong and arrived at a big tree near Mr. Jin's house. Yin Xiaoru's body pressed against the highest branch. The branch was very soft, but Yin Xiaoru seemed to be weightless. She only swayed with the branch, but didn't break. Yin Xiaoru felt very uncomfortable. This Li Fan is too selfish and arrogant. How could such a person understand Mr. Jin's kindness to me? In his eyes, money is the most important thing. Since he doesn't want to come, I can save old Mr. Jin by myself. Yin Xiaoru looked at Mr. Jin's yard and found that there was no one there. The big yard was like a dead house, silent. The dust in the yard hadn't been cleaned for a long time, and the fallen leaves were all over the yard. It was so quiet that even the birds didn't want to stay. Yin Xiaoru's heart sank. Something really happened. She looked around and saw that there was no one around. Then, she opened her arms and jumped down from the tree. Like a bird, she landed lightly on Mr. Jin's house. She turned over and landed in the yard again. She stepped on the fallen leaves, but they didn't make any sound. It could be seen that Yin Xiaoru's Qinggong was excellent. No matter what, her kung fu was the result of real training. Yin Xiaoru landed in front of Mr. Jin's house. She leaned on the door and looked through the glass. Old Mr. Jin was lying on the bed, as if he was fast asleep. Yin Xiaoru looked around again, but there was no one else. It seemed that the news was fake, and Mr. Jin was fine. No matter how powerful the genie guards were, they couldn't attack ordinary people. Since that was the case, it was time for her to fulfill her promise. Yin Xiaoru gently pushed open the window, and then jumped in from the window, landing silently in the room. She came and went like a breeze. She arrived in front of the Buddhist shrine and placed the golden Buddha on it respectfully. Seeing that the golden Buddha was back, Mr. Jin's illness should be mostly healed. Yin Xiaoru thought of Mr. Jin's kindness in the past and couldn't help but feel warm. She quietly walked to Mr. Jin's bed, wanting to see how her benefactor looked. But when she approached, Mr. Jin suddenly turned around and stared at Yin Xiaoru with a pair of eagle-like eyes, causing Yin Xiaoru to tremble. "You're not Mr. Jin. I'm the Death Reaper," he said fiercely. Chapter 240. Yin Xiaoru immediately turned around, stepped on the wind, and prepared to escape from the window. Li Fan was right, this was a trap. Damn it, why did she think of him at this time? Yin Xiaoru scolded herself, but her feet did not delay, and she quickly ran towards the window. But the old man pretending to be old Mr. Jin just sat up, waved his hand, and the window closed by itself. "Little kitty, you are too naughty." The old man had a hooked nose that Liao Wushuang liked, but he did not look handsome. Instead, he looked somewhat gloomy, and there was a kind of haze in his face. "This old man will capture you today, and let you understand the immensity of heaven and earth." "Humph, old man, I will not let you capture me." Yin Xiaoru jumped, and ran towards the door. But the old man waved his hand, and the large wardrobe next to him moved, and under the control of his true energy, the door was sealed. Yin Xiaoru had a feeling that she had entered a cage, and the lock of this cage was the old man in black clothes and silver vest in front of her. The Qianhu of the Embroidered Uniform Guard. "The Embroidered Uniform Guard is taking care of me, they actually sent a Qianhu." Yin Xiaoru's words carried a hint of ridicule. "Look at you, you can be considered an Edo senpai. What kind of ability is it to make a move on a junior?" "Hee, little kitty, don't try to use words to provoke this old man, it's useless." The old man stood there with his hands behind his back, and his gloomy eyes flowed with killing intent. "This old man has always been cruel and merciless, whether you are a girl or a baby girl. As long as you are on the black list, this old man will definitely take your life. I, the flying cat, have never been afraid of anyone. If you want to catch me, you will have to train for another 10 years. As Yin Xiaoru said so, she used her eyes to look for a way to leave. "Little kitty, in the past, even your master had to hide when he saw this old man. You are very arrogant, could it be that you are naturally more powerful than your master?" You know my master? Yin Xiaoru was shocked. Her master was a peerless thief, and many rich people in the past, when they heard her master's name, they all complained incessantly. Hee hee, of course. Flying Sky Cat, Jade Face Fox. Your names are quite similar. There seemed to be some nostalgia in the old man's eyes. What a pity. Your master was also a famous beauty in Jianghu. Even I fell in love with her when I saw her. Unfortunately, your master had eyes but failed to see and fell in love with someone he shouldn't have. He actually turned a blind eye to this old man's admiration. What a pity, what a pity. You are the Yin-faced impermanence Di Yao. Yin Xiaoru suddenly realized the identity of the person in front of her, and her eyes filled with anger. It's you who ruined my master's peerless beauty. Of course, if I can't get it, I can't let it fall into the hands of others. You scum. To think that you're an embroidered uniform guard. As expected, none of the embroidered uniform guards are good people. These words are not for a petty thief like you to say. The Yin-face impermanence Di Yao sneered. Once I capture you and that golden Buddha statue, this old master will be promoted to commander. Even if I die, I won't let you have your way. Yin Xiaoru had just finished cursing when she suddenly thought of something else. The owner of this house, what did you do to him? That old man can't hold on any longer, so this old master did a good deed and helped him enjoy his bliss. You. Yin Xiaoru was furious. This Di Yao, he deserved to die. Instead of retreating, Yin Xiaoru rushed forward and rushed towards Di Yao. At the same time, she secretly held a tiger claw knife in her hand, preparing to stab this sharp weapon into Di Yao's neck. But Di Yao didn't care at all, allowing Yin Xiaoru to reach him. At the same time, he raised his right hand and pinched Yin Xiaoru's tiger claw knife with 3 fingers. Dang! The tiger claw knife in Yin Xiaoru's hand was actually broken by Di Yao's 3 fingers. Pooh! At the same time, Di Yao's other hand pierced Yin Xiaoru's shoulder and grabbed her shoulder blade, causing Yin Xiaoru's vision to go black and she lost the ability to resist and was forced to kneel in front of Di Yao. Showy but impractical. Di Yao sneered, with just this little bit of skill, you still have the nerve to oppose this old master? Di Yao had practiced his eagle claw skill for several dozen years and was extremely skilled. Ordinary people would find it difficult to resist. Don't worry, this old master won't kill you, this old master will use your life and that golden Buddha statue in exchange for supreme glory. Di Yao had already thought it over when Yin Xiaoru suddenly opened her eyes and spat out a silver needle from her mouth. Di Yao had been feeling proud of himself and had not expected this sudden needle to appear. With a puff, the silver needle pierced into his eye, causing Di Yao to roar in pain. He then raised his foot and kicked Yin Xiaoru's head, knocking her unconscious. Damn it! Damn it! Di Yao pulled out the silver needle from his eye, but it was now useless and bleeding profusely. When I send you back to the bright uniform guard, this old master will make you beg for death. Ah! Di Yao was extremely angry, but for the sake of his future, he had to endure this anger for the time being. If it weren't for the fact that he needed to report back, he would have already used his eagle claw skill to rip out this woman's heart, liver, and lungs and let her die without a complete corpse. Guards! He stopped the bleeding and moved the wardrobe away. At the same time, he roared loudly. Sir Thousand Households, what are your orders? Several little flags pushed open the door and knelt in front of Di Yao. Take this woman to the yard and hang her up for this old master. Di Yao snorted. Yes. The little flags dragged Yin Xiaoru away. Di Yao endured the pain and thought to himself. According to the intelligence he had gathered, the blacklists Li Fan and Yan Kai should be by this woman's side. He wanted to use this woman as bait to lure the two of them out. At that time, the great commander would definitely appreciate him and perhaps teach him the 9th layer of the small phaseless divine art. This small phaseless divine art was divided into 9 layers, each more powerful than the last. However, ordinary bright uniform guards could only cultivate up to the 6th layer, 1,000 households could cultivate up to the 7th layer, and commanders could cultivate up to the 8th layer. However, the legendary 9th layer could only be mastered by the great commander. If he could learn the 9th layer of the small phaseless divine art, how many people in this world would be his opponent? Thinking of this, he seemed to have forgotten his pain and grinned wickedly. Yin Xiaoru was awoken by the sun. As the saying goes, the autumn tiger was extremely cruel. It was already midday and the sunlight stung her face, making her feel like she was being roasted dry. Little kitty, you're awake. Diao sat opposite Yin Xiaoru, wearing an eye patch as he leisurely drank some Longjing tea. Behind him, a row of bright uniformed guards stood there. There were little flags, general flags, and 200 households, all of them standing there motionlessly, seemingly ignoring the autumn heat. This style of yours really suits you. Yin Xiaoru said sarcastically, even though you've lost an eye, you still look so kind. Chapter 241. Hee, little kitty, don't try to provoke this old master again. Diao narrowed his single eye, one less eye in exchange for endless glory and wealth, it's a bargain. I'm afraid you'll be able to earn it but not spend it. Yin Xiaoru cursed again and again, people like you will soon go to hell. This old master already said, goading me is useless. Diao's eyes flashed with murderous intent, if you scold this old master now, this old master will remember it. When I return to the bright uniform guard's prison, I guarantee you'll beg for death. This old master will cut off your hands and feet, cut off your tongue, and then stick you in the ground, feed you every day, feed you water, and let you live in despair. What a cruel heart. You old man, if you have the guts, give this ant a quick death. Yin Xiaoru was scared and angry, her body couldn't help trembling slightly. When Yin Xiaoru was a child, the thing she feared the most was sneaking out to play instead of cultivating, only to be discovered by her master. That kind of fear really made Yin Xiaoru feel like she was about to pee. But now, she was even more afraid. But even if she was afraid, she would not yield to this old man. Yin Xiaoru, don't be afraid, I will find a way to deal with this old man. If I can't think of a way, I'll just bite my tongue and commit suicide. I won't wait until I'm sent back to prison. However, old Mr. Jean and her master's enmity, who will she find to avenge them? Master, this disciple is unfilial, I can't be filial to you, Yin Xiaoru wanted to cry, but she held back. Hee, now is not the time to kill you. Diao took a sip of Longjing tea, this old master still has a use for you. I'm just a little thief, what's the use of keeping me? I can use you to fish out the other 2 wanted criminals on the blacklist. Diao said calmly, a few small fish and shrimp, the higher-ups actually gave you such a high evaluation, they really think too highly of you. Ha, in your dreams. Yin Xiaoru laughed, you want to use me to fish out Li Fan? Dream on, that selfish guy will never care about my life or death. What a stubborn little kitty. Diao slowly stood up, stretched out a finger, and pressed it against Yin Xiaoru's white cheek. I know you're not afraid of death, but are you afraid of being disfigured? You old pervert. Yin Xiaoru trembled again. She could feel the coldness of those fingers. Those who practiced the eagle claw would have fingers as hard as steel. This damned Diao, he had humiliated him again and again. Yin Xiaoru thought to herself, even if I die, I want to die beautifully. She made up her mind and was just about to bite her tongue to commit suicide, but at that moment, Diao's palm grabbed her chin and squeezed it, forcing her to open her mouth and spit out her tongue. Little kitty, this old man said that I won't let you die now. Looks like I should cut off your tongue first. Just as Diao finished speaking, the main door of the house was suddenly kicked open. The 2 doors flew up and crashed to the ground in front of Diao. I'm sorry, you've captured my client. Can you return him to me? Li Fan put his hands in his trouser pockets and stood outside the door with 1 foot raised. At this time, Li Fan still maintained his disguised appearance. His tall stature made Diao feel like he could only look up to him. Although Yin Xiaoru couldn't see Li Fan, she could still hear his unruly voice. She was a little surprised in her heart. This man, why did he come here? Didn't he take her money? Even if she was captured, it had nothing to do with him. Such a selfish man would actually come to this place to save her. Impossible, absolutely impossible. It's just a piece of cake. Diao looked at Li Fan and couldn't help but laugh. It was as if in his eyes, Li Fan was not a young boy, but a moving mountain of gold. This old man has been waiting for a long time. I'm sorry, I'm a little late. Li Fan put down his right foot. Can you return my distinguished client to me now? Are you Yan Kai or Li Fan? Diao did not recognize Li Fan's identity. Li Fan suddenly burst into laughter. You don't even know young master's name, how can you survive in Jianghu? Yo, you even poked an eye blind. Are you cosplaying as the Heartless Knife? Although she was caught, Yin Xiaoru couldn't help but laugh when she heard this. At this time, this guy could still joke so calmly. What a heartless guy. Glib tongue. Diao's heart was filled with murderous intent. In a moment, this old man will pull out your tongue. Tell me your name. Young master will never change his surname. Surname Li, given name Fan. Li Fan didn't want to play tricks like, I'm your father, only a fool would fall for it. What's more, he came out to Jianghu to make a name for himself. To be able to protect his employer from the hands of the Imperial Secret Service, this was the real deal. You're the little overlord Li Fan. Diao frowned, you don't look like me. Little overlord? Li Fan was puzzled. Wasn't this his name in school? How did it spread to Jianghu? But it sounded okay, so he decided to call him that for now. But why did it sound like a learning machine? He was faintly unhappy. Forget it, arrest them all and bring them back for interrogation. Diao thought that since he was going to arrest them anyway, he might as well arrest them all. I'm sorry, I'm here to take them back, not to send them off. Li Fan laughed, you may not understand human language, then I'll say it again, return my client, thank you. You're the one who doesn't understand the situation. Diao was provoked again and was about to go crazy. But he was, after all, experienced in Jianghu for so many years, so he endured it. Everyone here is my people, do you think you can escape alive? With just these few people, young master really doesn't put them in his eyes. Li Fan crooked his finger at Diao, looking at your clothes, your position isn't low, at least a flag commander, do you want to spar? Bullshit, this old master is a distinguished Qian Hu. The Imperial Secret Service works for the government, how could they find such an ugly Qian Hu? Li Fan sighed, how about young master sponsor you 8 or 10 yuan and you go to South Korea to get a makeover? You little beast full of nonsense. This old master will not tolerate you today. Diao finally became enraged and shouted, capture him. Yes. The surrounding Imperial Secret Service guards responded one after another. Then, 6 more flag commanders stepped forward and threw their hooked claws at Li Fan's body. However, Li Fan took a step forward and his whole body soared 3 meters into the air, avoiding the surrounding hooks and claws, and directly rushing towards Diao, the Imperial Secret Service 1,000 households. Chapter 242. How dare you? Don't even think about it. 2 genie guards jumped up from the side and raised their palms at the same time, slapping towards Li Fan. Both of their palm techniques were quite sharp, and they were prepared to intercept this arrogant Li Fan in the air. But Li Fan only laughed twice, circulating his true qi in both his hands. Black Bear slams. Bang, bang. The 2 genie guards left as quickly as they came. Their bodies flew out like broken kites, smashing through the glass at the side and falling into the room behind. As for Li Fan, because of the impact, his body also stopped in the air and fell to the ground. The 6 genie guards once again threw out their claws, grabbing towards Li Fan from all directions. Even the air was blocked, so that Li Fan had nowhere to escape. But Li Fan did not jump up. Instead, he stuck to the ground and used the black toad technique, quickly rushing towards Di Yao. Even if he was surrounded by thousands of soldiers, Li Fan could take the head of a general as easily as taking something out of his pocket. Childish. Di Yao coldly snorted, and the two genie guards finally moved. The two of them were like door gods, suddenly appearing in front of Li Fan, blocking his path. The two of them pulled out their goose feather sabers at the same time, one aiming at Li Fan's head, and the other at Li Fan's lower three parts. These two genie guards' saber techniques were excellent, but Li Fan only somersaulted in the air and kicked out with both feet. Dang! Dang! Li Fan used his deer kick twice. Wrapped in his true chi, he kicked the two men's sabers, kicking their goose feather sabers away. At the same time, Li Fan landed on the back of one of the genie guards. Spirit Monkey Kill. This was Li Fan's ultimate move. He grabbed the genie guard's head with both hands, and as long as he moved his palms, the genie guard's head would be broken. However, Li Fan hesitated the moment he was about to make his move. After all, he was only a high school student. Although he was enemies with the embroidered uniform guards, he didn't hate them as much as he hated the old man Yamada. This Baihu was just a lackey. There was no need to take his life. Thinking of this, Li Fan couldn't help but feel a little soft-hearted. He prepared to change his move. But at this time, the Baihu behind him suddenly raised his knife and slashed at Li Fan's back, leaving a long wound on Li Fan's back. If not for Li Fan's true chi protecting his body, he would have lost his life. Di Yao also took action. Di Yao's hand reached out to grab Li Fan's head, but Li Fan quickly dodged Di Yao's attack. However, Di Yao's killing move came later. He broke the embroidered uniform guard's leg, causing him to kneel on the ground in pain, causing Li Fan's body to also fall to the ground. At the same time, Di Yao's other hand moved up and down towards Li Fan, as if tearing the air apart. Li Fan finally let go of the crippled embroidered uniform guard, opened his arms, and flew backwards, dodging Di Yao's killing move. But the other Baihu had already caught up, and the goose feather knife in his hand slashed towards Li Fan, who had not yet landed. But as Li Fan was falling, he suddenly stretched out his hands and grabbed the Baihu's wrist, like an iron clamp, locking his wrist. White deer reverse kick. Li Fan kicked again, and this time his foot hit the Baihu's chest, forcing him to take a few steps back and kneel on the ground, blood flowing from his 7 orifices. The minor phaseless divine art of these Baihu was no longer able to completely compete with Li Fan's true chi. Li Fan could also see that these embroidered uniform guards should not be regarded as people at all. Each and every one of them was a killing machine, completely devoid of humanity. Li Fan stopped the blood flowing from his back and stared at Di Yao, gasping for breath. Yin Xiaoru looked at the wound on Li Fan's back, a shocking sight to behold. This selfish guy, he really put in so much effort for his own sake. You're bleeding, Yin Xiaoru couldn't help saying. It's just a small wound, what's there to complain about? Li Fan didn't even look back as he scolded, young master has been in a bad mood recently, letting out some blood would make him feel better. Seems you've got some backbone. Di Yao said, maybe 10 years from now, you'll be a big shot. Unfortunately, you'll die at this old master's hands today. Nonsense, you've reincarnated into the wrong body, idiot, you should have been a woman. I was wrong before, you shouldn't have gone to Korea, you should have gone to Thailand, chopped off your head and replaced it with 2 big breasts. Death is at hand, yet you're still so stubborn. Di Yao circulated his true chi on his hands, this old master will break your tongue first. With that, he took a step forward and aimed his eagle claws at Li Fan's mouth. But Li Fan suddenly stretched out his hands and directly locked Di Yao's wrist. Dear lock. At the same time, Li Fan's foot went straight to Di Yao's calf, trying to kick this guy into a cripple. Humph. Di Yao's minor phaseless divine art was cultivated in a different direction, so his defense was a bit weaker, unable to block Li Fan's full-strength kick. But Di Yao's kick came at the same time, and the two men's calves collided with a loud bang as their true chi exploded. At the same time, Diao's other hand grabbed Li Fan's neck. The biggest weakness of Li Fan's dear lock was that he had to use both hands to clamp down on the opponent's hand. If Li Fan couldn't kick the enemy, then the opponent would have enough time and opportunity to counterattack. However, Li Fan was already prepared for this. With a loud shout, he sent out a fierce tiger roar, stunning Diao for half a second. At the same time, he seized the opportunity to grab Diao's arm, twist his body, and execute a beautiful shoulder throw, throwing Diao to the ground. Bang! Diao's body hit the ground, splashing up a large number of leaves. But Diao was still a master, so his eagle claws reached out and his fingers pierced Li Fan's calf, even pinching Li Fan's calf bone. Li Fan's vision went black, the pain was not light. But he endured it, raised his other foot, and stomped down fiercely towards Diao. Diao's body slid down like a maggot, causing Li Fan's foot to slam into the ground, leaving a deep footprint. Diao's body was injured in 2 places and there were 5 finger-thick bloody holes in his calf, causing him to tremble slightly. Li Fan tried to stop the blood from flowing from his calf, but because he had lost too much blood, his vision was slightly dark. Damn it all, today I really will die here. This old thing's character isn't very good, but his martial arts are actually brilliant. His eagle claw skill could be said to have reached the acme of perfection. Do you know the gap between you and me? Diao stood up and said coldly, in this old master's eyes, you're nothing more than prey trying to struggle. But just as his voice fell, 6 eagle claws flew over, pierced into Li Fan's skin, and latched onto his body, locking him in place. And your good days are over. Chapter 243. Those hooked claws dug deep into Li Fan's bones, causing him to feel a terrible pain whenever he moved. Diao stood in front of him with a triumphant smile on his face. Even if you're Monkey Son, you can't escape from this old master's grasp. What's more, you're not as capable as Monkey Sunday. I was wrong, let me go. Li Fan seemed to be in a lot of pain, his head hung low, motionless, as if he had been tamed. Yin Xiaoru couldn't blame Li Fan, for her sake, he had indeed suffered too much. It wasn't easy for an escort leader he didn't know to do so much for him. Even if Li Fan surrendered, admitted defeat, or begged for mercy, Yin Xiaoru wouldn't be able to get angry. Especially when she saw the shocking wounds on his body, Yin Xiaoru couldn't get angry. It seems your bones aren't that hard after all. Diao sneered, approaching Li Fan, grabbing Li Fan's hair with one hand, pulling his head up. This is the price for opposing the bright gown guard. Diao's brow suddenly twitched, because Li Fan had raised his head and was grinning. Bear. Mount. Army. He let out a loud roar, and his body suddenly swelled up. The bones in his body made cracking sounds, and he forcibly broke the hooks that were locking him down. At the same time, Li Fan's hands directly grabbed Diao's shoulders, like an iron hoop, instantly breaking Diao's shoulder blades, causing Diao to howl in pain. You want to make the young master surrender? Dream on. Li Fan grabbed Diao's body with both hands, as if he was holding a chicken, and slammed his head into the ground. Father Bear Pile Driver. Li Fan grabbed Diao's head and slammed it into the ground 7 times. Even if Diao had true chi protecting his body, after these 7 hits, he was still badly mutilated. Even if he didn't die, he would still be seriously injured. Bear King raises the cauldron. Li Fan then lifted the unconscious Diao over his head, and in front of the shocked eyes of the embroidered uniform guards, he forcibly broke both of Diao's arms. In this way, Diao's entire body was equivalent to being crippled. The distant dream of becoming a commander had also completely slipped away from his world. Who else? Li Fan casually threw Diao's body aside, not caring whether he lived or died. This kind of scum, even in death, would stink. The muscles on Li Fan's body tightened, compressing the wound and stopping the bleeding. However, he was already dyed in blood. He stood there, looking down on the crowd as he spoke arrogantly. I am Li Fan. I am the little tyrant. Who among you embroidered uniform guards dares to be my enemy? Li Fan's voice was like a great bell, intimidating the embroidered uniform guards so much that none of them dared to step forward. Even Yin Xiaoru was shocked. Li Fan's performance was beyond her expectations. She thought that Li Fan had been beaten into submission, but she didn't expect him to retreat in order to advance, pretending to surrender to deceive Diao, and then decisively deal with him, crippling his biggest threat. As a result, the remaining embroidered uniform guards did not dare to step forward. If there's no one, I'll take my client and leave. Li Fan stretched out his hand, broke the chain on Yin Xiaoru's body, and then carried the weak flying cat thief on his shoulder. This feeling of shame made Yin Xiaoru feel as if she was a sack. He looked around and said to the surrounding embroidered uniform guards. Remember, from now on, no one is allowed to touch my, Li Fan's client. Whoever dares, will end up like this guy. He pointed to Di Yao, whose life or death was unknown, and said loudly. Idiot, don't forget the golden Buddha statues. Yin Xiaoru patted Li Fan's back twice and said. Li Fan saw the golden Buddha statue on the table next to him and waved his hand, sucking it into his palm. The remaining embroidered uniform guards did not dare to attack, all of them surrounding Li Fan, as if they were facing a great enemy. Li Fan, catch one of the embroidered uniform guards, I want to question him. Yin Xiaoru said to Li Fan. Client, you really have a lot of demands, I'll have to pay you more. Hurry up. Yin Xiaoru said anxiously. Li Fan took a step forward, scaring the embroidered uniform guards in front of him. A bunch of cowards, why are you running? Li Fan stretched out his hand and said to one of the flag commanders, I want to ask you something. As a great embroidered uniform guard, I will never give in. Li Fan kicked a goose feather saber that had fallen to the ground. The goose feather saber flashed with a white light and instantly brushed past Zhong Qi's ear. With a clang, it slashed into the door frame behind him. No, but, occasionally I should help solve people's problems, ask him where old Mr. Jean is being held. Yin Xiaoru's eyes turned, indicating to Li Fan to ask. My client asked where old Mr. Jean is being held. No, he's not being held, we sent him to the city to see a doctor. He'll be back in a few days. Yin Xiaoru breathed a sigh of relief. Sure enough, that damn pervert Di Yao was lying to her. Even the embroidered uniform guards do not have the power to kill ordinary people. If they want to casually attack an ordinary person, then they are not a butler, but a bandit. Okay, let's go. Li Fan also endured the pain in his body. Originally, it was just an escort, but he did not expect that in the end, it would turn into a prison break. This 50,000 yuan, it was too much of a loss. If not for Li Fan's tyrannical body, with these injuries, he would have already died. Stop. None of you are allowed to leave. The highest-ranking official here is a lame Baihu. He knelt there with a knife and roared at Li Fan. Hee, interesting, I want to see who dares to stop me. Li Fan carried Yin Xiaoru and walked out of the door. Those embroidered uniform guards kept retreating, not daring to touch Li Fan's bad luck. How is this the little overlord of the blacklist? He is clearly a fiendish monster. That lame Baihu knew that from now on, in this Jianghu, Li Fan's name will be known. Li Fan, do you think you can escape? That Baihu said, even if you become a character in the future, I'm afraid you will die here today. This flying flower town has already been set up by our embroidered uniform guards. Although we have defeated D, there are still more embroidered uniform guards waiting for you. You are talking about those embroidered uniform guards outside the door. Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai walked in from the door. Between the two of them, one was carrying a crescent moon saber, the saber was stained with dark red blood. The other was carrying an unconscious embroidered uniform guard and threw him to the side. You want to take down our Fiefan Express with just these few people, you are really too weak. Guan Wenbao raised his crescent moon saber horizontally, pointed at that Baihu and said, next time, remember to send more experts over. Li Fan's two subordinates have already dealt with the embroidered uniform guards outside. That Baihu is somewhat dumbfounded, he does not dare to believe his own eyes. Chapter 244. Even Yin Xiaoru felt the same. For the first time, she felt that the 50,000 yuan was worth it. She took back her words. This team was too reliable. Oh my god. Wait for me, damn it. Just as Yin Xiaoru was feeling moved, a limping figure ran in. Huang Lei's clothes were tattered, and there was a dagger in his butt. Damn it, you two are so mean. Don't you know I'm injured? Each and every one of them is running like a donkey. Huang Lei roared at Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai, are we still brothers? Damn it, didn't you stab yourself? Yan Kai curled his lips, this is the first time I see someone stab himself with a dagger in his butt. Are you an idiot? What do you know? I'm just scaring them. Huang Lei said with a straight face, moreover, we came out to fight. If I don't bleed, how can I face my big brother? Look at my big brother, he's about to be stabbed 3 times and 6 times. This is called a man's medal. You have a scar on your butt. Your sister's medal. Yan Kai rolled his eyes. Yours is hemorrhoids. Perverted. Guan Wenbao added another stab. Huang Lei couldn't take it anymore, you two, are you going to fight with me? Yin Xiaoru decided to take back her thoughts. This team was always a bunch of jokers. The car is coming soon, head escort. Guan Wenbao followed the rules set by Li Fan and didn't call him benefactor. Instead, he called him head escort. Li Fan felt that it was more pleasing to the ear. Okay, let's go. Li Fan carried Yin Xiaoru and walked out of the courtyard. The remaining genie guards didn't dare to make a move. After all, Guan Wenbao and Yan Kai were like 2 door gods, standing there. You guys, really want to be enemies with the genie guards? The official knelt there, looking at the 2 gods standing in front of the courtyard. So what? Yan Kai laughed, only now can there be passion in life. A real man should fight. Guan Wenbao said boldly with the crescent moon blade in his hand. The rest of the embroidered uniform guards didn't dare to make a sound. These experts who had reached the next level actually had such strong ambitions. Based on their temperament alone, these people gave off the feeling that they were heroes. The car is here. As soon as Li Fan and the others walked out of the yard, a familiar van stopped in front of them. Are you happy to see me again? Bai Lin Luo sat in the driver's seat and winked at Yin Xiaoru. When did you get your driver's license? Li Fan pondered for a moment and asked. I didn't take the test. I learned it from a truck driver before I came out. Bai Lin Luo smiled shyly. It's simple. It's not as hard as you say. Slow down, Li Fan felt that life was full of danger. Believe in my driving skills. Bai Lin Luo said as he took out a notebook from his pocket and carefully studied it. What are you looking at? Notes. I'm looking at how to start a fire. Now the embroidered uniform guards won't dare to look for us. After Yin Xiaoru was put in the car by Li Fan, she automatically ignored this funny team and said, if they want to continue to intercept us, they will have to find a new Qianhu. But the number of Qianhu in the embroidered uniform guards is already small, so it's hard to mobilize them. If they want to find another one, they won't be able to do it without 3 to 5 days. That's good. Our mission is considered completed. Although Li Fan said so, he didn't really relax. His body condition was not very good. If he relaxed, he would probably fall sick and need to recover for a period of time. He must bring Yin Xiaoru out of this flying flower town to complete the mission. Take a good rest. Yin Xiaoru said to Li Fan, thank you for this journey. That's right. Escort, take a rest. There's us here. When Yan Kai said that, one of his hands was still touching his belt. Li Fan ruled out his action of taking off his pants. He then leaned back on the chair and closed his eyes. He was practically hanging on to his last breath and had held on until now. Now that the car had been handed over to Huang Lei and they were on the highway again, he could finally relax and let out a sigh of relief. Li Fan's true qi automatically protected his body to prevent him from losing too much blood and dying. He had temporarily lost consciousness and was in a daze. His vision was pitch black. He slept for a long time. When Li Fan opened his eyes again, his innate qi had already recovered a lot, and the condition of his body was also a little better. Some of the shallow wounds had already begun to heal. The remaining bloody holes had been stitched up. Who stitched me up? Li Fan was a little surprised and couldn't help but ask. It was Miss Yin. Bai Lin Luo sat next to Li Fan, and beside him was a medical kit that he had prepared beforehand. Where is she? She got off the car. Bai Lin Luo said. She took the golden Buddha and said that she was going to find the owner of the golden Buddha. Well, our fate ends here. Li Fan actually felt a little reluctant to leave. However, the underworld was too big. He probably wouldn't have a chance to see her again. Big brother, do you think she's going to steal our 50,000 yuan? Huang Lei asked with some suspicion. Li Fan waved his hand. No, she's a thief. Although he had only been in contact with her for less than 2 days, Li Fan felt as if he understood Fei Tian Cat very well. Sigh, I should ask her for advice on Qinggong. If I can learn her Qinggong, my own Qinggong will probably improve as well. If I go with Big Brother, I can also get on the blacklist, right? Huang Lei asked with a smile. Don't make trouble. Li Fan gave him a blank look. You're teasing me. What if my wound cracks from laughing? Besides, do you think getting on the blacklist is a good thing? In the future, the genie guard will come to trouble you every day, you know? Do you think you can beat the genie guard? Forget it, I'll just be a henchman of Big Brother. Huang Lei thought of those troublesome genie guard and immediately felt his scalp tingle. Today I can beat that Qian Hu by luck. Li Fan was also a little scared. His strength is really higher than mine. If I hadn't caught him off guard, I'm afraid you wouldn't be able to see me today. That Di Yao's strength is at least close to the peak. If not for his carelessness, Li Fan wouldn't have been able to defeat this guy with a belly full of evil tricks. My kung fu is still lacking, I need to go back and practice. Li Fan seriously reflected on himself. Just like Muronging said, the establishment of this escort agency was just a whim. But the underworld is dangerous and there are many masters. Today, a Qian who injured him like this. In the future, facing more masters, how should he deal with them? Chapter 245. By the time Li Fan returned home, it was already late at night the next day. As soon as he came back, he plunged into the cultivation room. Muronging was wearing a light blue nightgown, with a pair of long legs crossed, calmly sitting on the sofa, reading a famous book in her hands. Li Fan did not speak to her, and she also did not take the initiative to find Li Fan to chat. Tai Zhu, is he injured? After Li Fan entered the room, Muronging asked. At this time, Tai Zhu, who was dressed in night clothes, came out of nowhere and cupped his fists towards Muronging, replying to young miss, the son-in-law is indeed injured. However, the son-in-law still won, and even seriously injured the Yin-faced impermanence Di Yao. I'm afraid that this Di Yao won't make it, even if we find the best doctor, he would not be able to save him. That's because he deserves to die. Muronging flipped through the pages of the book and said, he actually dared to lay his hands on my, Murong-Ying's, fiancé, he is simply tired of living. Then, what else do you want to report? That flying cat also left, her whereabouts are unknown. After all, Flying Cat is a professional thief. If she wanted to hide her whereabouts, it would be impossible for the bright gown guards to find her. Muronging continued, but she deliberately asked Li Fan to escort her, proving that she already knew that the bright gown guards were waiting for her in Flying Flower Town. This woman's schemes are very deep. Using my man as a thug for her, did she think that she was using him for free? Then what should we do next? Should we send some medicine to the son-in-law? He has a pure young body, and his internal strength is also very pure, he can slowly recover on his own. Muronging stopped Tai Zhu. Moreover, I just glanced at him, some of the serious wounds on his body have already been stitched up, it won't be a big problem. Taizhu said in his heart, obviously I care so much about the son-in-law, why didn't I personally go and talk to him? This couple seemed to be scheming every day. But you should make some medicinal cuisine and send it to him. Food is better than medicine. Understood. Eldest Mississippi, Taizhu was a professional cook. She cleaned up, put on an apron, and was about to go to the kitchen to cook. Wait a minute, Muronging suddenly stopped her. Eldest Miss, do you have any other orders? Why aren't you wearing pants? Seeing that Taizhu was only wearing an apron with his buttocks exposed, Murongying's face darkened. The books say that this is a dinner of love. Taizhu's serious look made Murongying feel like breaking down. Hurry up and put on your pants. All right. Taizhu seemed very reluctant to put on his pants. Murongying felt that she and Li Fan still had a long way to go. At this time, Li Fan was sitting in his room with his eyes closed in contemplation. This mission had allowed him to understand a lot, and he had also seen his own shortcomings. There were many experts in the Jianghu. If he wanted to make a name for himself, he really needed to be stronger. Otherwise, he could only be ruthlessly eliminated from the Jianghu. It was fine if he was eliminated, but it was very likely that he would lose his life. The Jianghu was too big and there were too many experts. If he wanted to have a place in this cruel Jianghu, he must continue to strengthen himself. Li Fan sat cross-legged in the training room and began to think about his martial arts. Right now, he had already comprehended 2 of the 7 Hero Fist's strong moves. One was the Bear Cavalry and the other was the Heaven-Swallowing Toad. The Heaven-Swallowing Toad was his killer move. Unless it was absolutely necessary, he would not use it. But he could try to comprehend the other animal's strong moves. But these were really something that could only be discovered by chance. He didn't know when he would have an epiphany. Li Fan recalled the Qian who he met today. The eagle claw that he used was very overbearing. He had true qi protecting his body, but the Qian who was able to easily tear it apart and attack his flesh. At the very least, he had practiced this martial art to the extreme. If he had such a claw attack, it would be great. It would definitely greatly enhance the power of his Tiger Strike technique. Li Fan suddenly had an idea. Why don't I train the power of my Tiger Strike technique? Thinking of this, he jumped and stood up. At the same time, his body entered the Tiger Strike technique stance. Li Fan's body was almost lying on the ground. Both of his hands were in the shape of a tiger's claws. There was only one thought left in his mind. A ferocious tiger. He completely imitated the posture of a ferocious tiger and jumped a few times on the ground. But Li Fan didn't know why, but he felt that he was missing something. What was the essence of a ferocious tiger? Li Fan turned his head and looked at the painting of a ferocious tiger descending the mountain hanging on the wall. The ferocious tiger carried an endless aura of a king and stood there proudly. Li Fan looked at the ferocious tiger's eyes. He didn't know who drew this ferocious tiger descending the mountain. It was very charming and was simply a stroke of genius. It was probably the work of a master. Li Fan stared at the ferocious tiger's eyes for a long time. He felt that the ferocious tiger seemed to be able to speak. All of a sudden, he understood something. Realization dawned on him. What was he lacking? It was this kind of domineering aura, this kind of endless prestige of a king. Li Fan suddenly laughed out loud. Then, he fiercely swung his claws at the wooden stake beside him. Bang! The wooden stake was directly torn apart by Li Fan's claws. Wood shavings flew everywhere. Li Fan stood there and let out a long roar. The entire bungalow trembled. Murongying, who was reading a book, was suddenly alarmed. She put down her book and looked in the direction of the training room. This roar actually faintly carried the aura of a king. It was truly shocking. If her father let out such a roar, Murongying wouldn't be surprised at all. Instead, she would feel that it was normal. After all, her father grew up in Murong's family. He had received an elite education since he was young. Moreover, his strength was absolutely strong. Back then, no one in the martial arts world disobeyed him. There was no doubt that such a person had the aura of a king. However, Li Fan was different. He was originally just an ordinary high school student. How did he comprehend this kind of emperor's aura? This was really hard to explain. It was really inconceivable. This Li Fan had given her too many surprises. Sometimes, she even felt that she was nurturing a monster. As for Li Fan, he pushed open the door of the training room in high spirits and happened to bump into Tai Zhu, who was walking over with medicinal cuisine. "Son-in-law, please have some medicinal cuisine." Li Fan took the medicinal cuisine and returned to the room to eat. Muronging finally put down her book and decided to sleep in peace. Since he had already gone home, there was nothing for her to worry about. Sigh, why did she worry about him? He was just the father of her future child. Yes, it was because she considered that the child couldn't be without a father. That was why she protected him so much. Muronging, Muronging, as the leader of the martial arts world, you can't subdue a man. No, she had to restore her authority as a wife and let Li Fan know who was the boss of the family. Chapter 246. Muronging paced back and forth in front of Li Fan's door for a long time. Later, she felt that Li Fan might be too tired today. She would talk to him about the matter of re-establishing his wife's dignity another day. Li Fan had a breakthrough in his skills, which was a happy thing. After eating the medicinal cuisine, he felt a warm feeling permeating through his body. Although Tai Zhu's appearance was somewhat unsightly, his culinary skills were first-rate. Muronging was beautiful, but she was fierce. It would be nice if she was as gentle as Tai Zhu. Sigh, what was I thinking? How could I imagine Muronging becoming gentle? Even if the end of the world came, this woman would not become gentle. This was his fiancée, the chief of Wulin, Muronging. Li Fan lightly leaped and landed on the rope, then leaned on it and lay down. Now, Li Fan could skillfully sleep on the rope. His body swayed gently, the rope swayed, but his body did not fall. It was as if he was on a swing. A gust of wind blew through the window, and Li Fan suddenly woke up. He opened his eyes and saw a familiar woman in a black vest with golden edges standing in the room. Shu, seeing that Li Fan was on guard, Yushi stretched out a finger and gently made a shushing gesture. Yushi didn't want to provoke the terrifying Muronging even if it was the black guard of genie guards. In this Jianghu, there were probably only a few people who were willing to fight with Muronging. When she was only 16 years old, she had already trampled all the sects in Jianghu and kicked over all the martial arts schools. Other than Muronging, who else could achieve such a feat? Yushi didn't come today to kill Li Fan, so naturally, there was no need to provoke the terrifying chief of Wulin. I won't kill you, nor will I capture you. Yushi went straight to the point without any hesitation. I came to you for something else. What good can it be? Li Fan circulated his true qi. It's the middle of the night. Could it be that the heartless saber of the Imperial Secret Service came all the way here to have a one-night stand with me? As Li Fan ridiculed him, his heart was still secretly perturbed. This heartless saber's movement technique was very powerful. He had once again stealthily sneaked to his side. If he hadn't woken up abruptly, he might have been killed in his sleep. He had to be more vigilant in the future. Li Fan reminded himself. Come with me. Yushi was still concise and comprehensive. Huh? Li Fan was stunned for a moment. Yushi actually wanted him to go with her. What kind of tricks are you embroidered uniform guard playing this time? What's wrong? A dignified little overlord doesn't dare to come. Yushi was always expressionless, but it made Li Fan feel like she was laughing at him. How could this do? As a man, he couldn't be looked down upon by this woman. Fine, I'll go. I want to see what kind of tricks you embroidered uniform guard are playing. Li Fan said in his heart, sticking my head out is a knife, pulling my head back is also a knife. Sooner or later, I'll have to meet with the brocade guards. He would know what kind of tricks the embroidered uniform guard had up their sleeves. Whether it's a dragon's pool or a tiger's den, I'll go tonight. Don't worry. Yushi said very seriously, since you trust me, I'll make sure you don't die tonight. I can protect myself. Li Fan had always been self-reliant. He didn't need others to protect him. Besides, he was escort Li of Fiefan Express. He had always been the one protecting others. There was no reason for others to protect him. If word of this got out, he would be the laughing stock of the people in the industry. Don't say anything else. Let's go. Li Fan reached out and took off his school uniform jacket from the hanger next to him. You're going to wear this? Yushi gave Li Fan a few more glances. What's wrong? This is the most normal outfit I have. As he spoke, he opened his wardrobe and revealed a large row of school uniforms. Because Li Fan often broke his school uniforms, he spent money to buy dozens of sets from school and hung them at home. When they were worn out, he would change them. It was cheap anyway. He asked Muronging to buy them. After all, she bought a set for 20 yuan, and Li Fan bought it for 200 yuan. Alright, up to you. As Yushi spoke, she turned around and jumped out of the window. Li Fan followed her and jumped out together. The reason why Li Fan was so confident was because he had absorbed the power of one dragon from Yushi. He hadn't been able to completely refine it before, but when he first comprehended the Tiger Strike technique, he refined the power of one dragon. However, after Li Fan refined the power of one dragon, he only absorbed the power of 3 tigers. After all, the power he absorbed was not pure enough. When converted into the complete 7 heroes force, some of the power would still be filtered out. Now, Li Fan had the power of 10 tigers. Now, even if he faced an expert at the peak of perfection, he would have the strength to fight. Even if he couldn't win, he would have no problem escaping. Yushi also looked very calm. It seemed that she had recovered after absorbing his inner force last time. She was in the embroidered uniform guard, so she probably took some elixir. Li Fan followed Yushi. Yushi's lightness skill was also good. She used the 8 steps catching cicada to jump between buildings. Li Fan calmly followed behind her. Lu Zua and Yuan Yu made Li Fan turn into a fairy in the night sky, closely following Yushi's footsteps. Yushi looked back and seemed a little surprised. However, that surprised look flashed in her eyes, and she resumed her poker face. Li Fan followed Yushi all the way to the shopping mall they had been to before. This time, they didn't go underground, but landed on the top of the shopping mall. The top of the shopping mall turned out to be a high-end leisure club. A huge swimming pool was placed in the middle of the roof, and there were parasols and benches next to it. A middle-aged man was lying on the bench, seemingly enjoying the moonlight at night. Damn, this man's pretentiousness was really high. As soon as Li Fan landed on the top of the building, he was forced back a step by the man's invisible pretentiousness. Commander, I've brought her. Yushi knelt in front of the middle-aged man. Li Fan was shocked. Holy shit, the commander of the embroidered uniform guard, this boss-level character, actually came out to meet him so early? Little you did well. Come, let Uncle Wang see how you've developed recently. As he spoke, the commander's hand went to touch Yushi's butt. A black saber blocked the commander's finger. Little you. How can you do this? Uncle is only concerned about your body. Don't you think too badly of Uncle? Is Uncle this kind of person in your heart? Commander. Please conduct yourself. 3 black lines appeared on Yushi's forehead. Obviously, she couldn't stand this commander. Chapter 247. Little you have to understand Uncle. The commander hurriedly said, it's not easy for Uncle. In order to practice this small phaseless magic, I haven't been close to a woman for so many years. I'm already in my 40s, but I don't even have a wife. Uncle is suffering and lonely. As Uncle's subordinate, you should understand Uncle, right? Commander, you can use your hands. Yushi calmly said. What are you talking about? Using your hands is harmful to your health. The commander immediately emphasized, Commander, I am a person who advocates healthy living and environmental protection. How can such an unhealthy lifestyle be done by someone like me? I was wrong, Commander. Yushi's face was full of shame. Then you can buy a dog. The commander was speechless. After a long time, he waved his hand, all right, little you might be a little tired, and your mind is a little muddled. Go and rest first, I will have a chat with this student Li. With that, the commander hooked his finger, and a chair immediately flew over, landing behind Li Fan. Student Li, since you are here, just treat it like your own home. Make yourself at home, don't stand on ceremony. Can I really treat it like my own home? Li Fan asked. Of course. Then can I pee in the pool? Li Fan felt the urge to pee, and the veins on the commander's forehead were bulging. Student Li. Tonight is a serious meeting, do you understand? All right then, I will endure it first. Li Fan could only shrug his shoulders. Let's get straight to the point. What is the purpose of you looking for me? I don't think you are looking for me to admire the moonlight, right? Such a beautiful moonlight, why can't I admire it? The commander stretched out his hand, and the juice on the table beside him flew into his hand. Li Fan's heart began to beat faster. This guy's small phaseless magic seemed to have reached the acme of perfection. It could even be integrated into his every move. It was truly terrifying. Student Li, you are still a student, so I won't urge you to drink. With that, the commander waved his hand again, and a glass of green juice landed in front of Li Fan. Try this strange fruit juice. I brewed it myself. Commander, I don't quite understand what you mean. Li Fan took the glass of juice but did not drink it. Although he didn't have much experience in Jianghu, he understood that it was best not to eat food that was given to him. Did you really come all this way just to look at the moon and drink some juice? Classmate Li, if you keep saying that, wouldn't it be a waste of such a beautiful moonlight? If you were a pretty girl, I definitely wouldn't waste it. We are kindred spirits. Most of them slapped their thighs in unison. If only you were a girl. Sorry to disappoint you, but I have a friend. Although he is a man, he is as beautiful as a flower. If you like him, I can introduce him to you. Mr. Li, you're making fun of me. You're talking about the Wudong genius, Yan Kai, right? Although the commander was a bit lecherous, he was not stupid. He easily guessed who Li Fan was talking about. This person is indeed very handsome, but it's a pity that I don't like picking chrysanthemums. It seems like we're not on the same page. Li Fan put down the juice. I still have class tomorrow, so I'll go back to sleep first. The night is still young, why are you in such a hurry? The commander waved his hand, and the chair blocked Li Fan's way again. What, does the commander want me to stay? Li Fan sneered and glanced at Yushi beside him. Classmate Li misunderstood, I never make a move on a junior in Jianghu. The commander laughed. The reason why I want you to stay is because I have something to discuss with classmate Li. What do you have to say? Let's hear it. Li Fan raised his head. I'd like to know what your genie guard is planning tonight. Classmate Li, don't think of the genie guard as a bad place. The commander put down the juice and asked Li Fan, I just want to ask you, if there were no genie guard, how chaotic do you think the world would be? It's hard to answer, right? Let me answer it for you. The commander continued, if there were no genie guard, I don't know how many people in Jianghu would become unscrupulous. Student Li, there was some truth in your words. Our existence is like the police. The existence of society needs law enforcement agencies to maintain order, and the order of Jianghu is controlled by us. Our purpose is to crack down on those bad people who don't follow the rules. Unfortunately, what I see is not like this. Li Fan said coldly, the genie guard I see can kill without mercy for the sake of the mission. There are even some people who, in order to please you, do not hesitate to collude with rich merchants and prey on the common people. If Genie Guard wants to maintain this kind of order, then I'd rather be a bad person who doesn't follow the rules. In the end, you're still a young man with a bad temper. The commander was not angry and continued to say slowly, the team is too big, it's not easy to lead. That's your problem, not mine. Li Fan would not sympathize with this perverted devil. Li Fan, watch your tone. Yushi frowned and looked at Li Fan with some discomfort. You're talking to our commander. Your disrespect to him is the same as making our Genie Guard your enemy. When did we become friends? Li Fan heard this and laughed out loud. Heartless saber, you're too funny. With one eye missing, your IQ is also low. I've never been afraid of your Genie Guard. At most, we'll fight for another 300 rounds. Classmate Li, why are you so angry? Drink some juice to cool down. The commander still said calmly, I didn't ask you to come here tonight to fight with you. You're finally willing to talk about your purpose. Li Fan suddenly put away his angry face and sat there quietly, looking at the commander. Then let's talk about today's topic. The commander looked at Li Fan a few more times. He had underestimated this young man. It turned out that his earlier angry look was all an act, forcing him to say it in advance. He originally wanted to tease this young man and wear down his patience, but he didn't expect that he would beat him at his own game. But this was also good, he fancied this kind of talent. Classmate Li, I'll give you a chance to reach the sky in one step. The commander's words were shocking. You can worship me as your master, join my Genie Guard, and become the 5th Black Guard. From now on, everyone in the pugilistic world will fear your name. As soon as these words were spoken, even Yushi was slightly stunned. Chapter 248. What kind of status does a Black Guard of the Embroidered Uniform Guard have? It can almost be said that they are second only to one and above tens of thousands. Black Guards have the authority to operate outside the law. They can even kill ordinary embroidered uniform guards first and report later. Not just anyone can become a Black Guard. At the very least, one must have the strength to reach the peak. As for Li Fan, this person only has the standard of entering the inner chamber. How could he be qualified to join the Black Guard? Especially if he can become the disciple of the Grand Chief. One must know that the Grand Chief has never accepted a disciple before. This matter is really unprecedented. It is hard to imagine that it actually happened. Yushi felt that her view of the world has been somewhat impacted. How could a greenhorn like this receive such high recognition? Yushi's heart felt a little unbalanced. This kind of temptation, thrown in front of Li Fan, is indeed somewhat hard to refuse. Student Li, become my disciple and then rule the world. The Grand Chief's voice suddenly rose a few octaves. In the future, the position of Grand Chief will also be yours. I have high hopes for you, young man. I don't understand. Li Fan is not a fool. Given him a bait, he will immediately bite. There are so many young talents in the world, why did you choose me? Fate is always unpredictable. The Grand Chief's words began to become serious. I feel that I and Student Li are fated. Moreover, your current position is very awkward. The Embroidered Uniform Guard has already regarded you as a strong enemy. If you do not pledge allegiance, your future path will become very difficult. You also know that the Embroidered Uniform Guard has many experts. What you have met so far is only the tip of the iceberg. If the 4 great Black Guards made a move, you would already be dead. A stick in one hand and a carrot in the other. Your Excellency is really good. Li Fan was impressed. I have to admit, these few words, I am really a little tempted. This is a supreme honor. The Grand Chief thinks that Li Fan is somewhat moved and continues to strike while the iron is hot. As long as you agree, you can reach the heavens in a single step. Then what should I do? Li Fan suddenly laughed. His laughter is somewhat inexplicable. My greatest strength is that I like to rely on myself to reach the sky in a single bound. It doesn't matter if you're the commander of the Embroidered Uniform Guards or the master of the martial arts world, I won't rely on you to reach the top. I have my own hands and feet, why should I rely on you? You're quite ambitious. The chief's voice turned cold. It looks like you want to refuse a toast only to drink a forfeit. Sorry, I don't like to drink. Li Fan continued to sit there calmly, completely ignoring the commander's expression. If the commander is looking for me for such a matter, then I can go home now. How ignorant. The great general seemed to be somewhat angry. Uncle, this is the first time I said that I wanted to accept a disciple, but you actually ignored me. It's embarrassing, okay? Li Fan could not accept the fact that this commander was alternating between yin and yang. No matter what, you are still a commander. Can't you speak properly? I'm the commander-in-chief. I can say whatever I want. Yushi clutched her temples. This chief commander had become willful. Go ahead then, but I'm leaving. Li Fan could not be bothered to speak to this commander. He would not acknowledge this fellow as his master and become the imperial court's dog. Especially since Yen Kai had betrayed the embroidered uniform guards for him. If he were to join this organization, would he still be considered a human? Student Li, is there no hope at all? The commander asked again. I, Li Fan, will never enter the embroidered uniform guards. Li Fan emphasized, no matter how you threaten or bribe me, I will not change my original intention. How foolish. The commander said, I gave you a sunny path, but you refused to walk it. You just had to walk the path of yin and yang. Foolish. Truly foolish. Whatever you say. It's just that all of our paths are different. Li Fan said without hesitation, my name is Li Fan. I am the little tyrant. I only live according to my own way. Since that's the case, then there's no point in keeping you. The Dui changed his previous appearance and became fiendish. I want to see how tough your bones are. Just because of a disagreement, you want to fight? Li Fan could not help but sneer. The commander suddenly stretched out his right hand towards Li Fan and raised it into the air. A wave of true qi acted on Li Fan's body and directly lifted him up, holding him high in the air. Li Fan was shocked. This commander's minor phaseless divine art was indeed unfathomable. He had actually trained it to such a level. The legendary 9th level actually had such an effect. It was very easy for this true qi to move an object away. But to move a person away, the strength needed was not as simple as a few times. He was actually lifted up so easily. This proved that the commander's strength was definitely tyrannical. The might of this minor phaseless divine art was definitely not something the current Li Fan could withstand. But at this moment, a sword suddenly fell from the sky and fell towards the commander. The commander tried to use minor phaseless divine art to move the sword away, but he failed. The commander's eyes turned cold. His body seemed to have teleported and appeared at another place in the blink of an eye. Because of this, the true qi that was controlling Li Fan dissipated, allowing Li Fan to land back on the ground. At the same time, the sword slashed into the ground and sank half a foot deep. Li Fan saw it clearly. This was the old granny's big sword that Muronging had bought. It had not been opened yet, but it was already so sharp. Swish! A beautiful figure landed on the sword's hilt. Muronging stood on the sword's hilt with the tip of her foot. She looked like a fairy from the heavens. She had an immortal's aura about her, making people admire her greatly. Even Yushi felt that she was born a wrong woman the moment she saw Muronging. She should have been born as a man and pursued this woman. Wang Jian, if you dare to touch him, I will take your life. Muronging stood on the sword. Her gaze was like a star in the night as it fell on the commander. Rumor has it that the Martial Arts Alliance Master Muronging found an ordinary high school student to be her fiancé. It seems like this rumor is true. Knowing that he is my fiancé, you still dare to make a move on him. Wang Jian, you really have guts. This name has not been mentioned for many years. The commander looked at Muronging with a slightly greedy gaze. Back then you were still a little girl, but now your figure is not bad. Your mother's bullshit. You've been having trouble recently. When Li Fan heard that the commander actually had thoughts about his woman, he immediately became angry. Young master, I will pull out your penis. Back down. This is not your battlefield. Muronging pointed at the commander, it is mine. Chapter 249. To be able to exchange blows with a lion's head Murong is a great blessing in life. The commander seemed to be very happy, but this kid Li Fan, someone needs to deal with him. Leave it to me, commander. A voice sounded from behind the commander, following which, a figure wearing a black vest with gilded edges slowly walked out from the darkness. He was obviously a man, but his hair was combed, and he wore a ghost mask. His face carried a trace of ruthlessness. I want to see how powerful a man that is appreciated by the commander is. Fuck, another black guard. Looking at the black guard, Li Fan slightly frowned. Schwa. However, Yushi pulled out her black saber and stood in front of Li Fan. I said that I will protect you tonight. Yushi, are you crazy? The black guard was somewhat unhappy. You actually dare to stand in front of me? I said that I will protect him. Yushi emphasized once again, even if the commander wants to touch him, I will still fight to the death. You are really crazy. The black guard had a look of disdain. You think you can defeat me? Among the black guards, you are the weakest. As for me, I won't show you any mercy. Come, let's see if your sword is stronger or my saber is faster. Saying that, Yushi pulled out the black saber from her waist. The surrounding objects were all split into two, showing how sharp the saber chi on Yushi's saber was. But the black guard just hooked his finger, and 7 black short swords popped out from his back, floating in front of him. These short swords were controlled by his minor formless magic technique, so even without using his hands, he could control them freely. This was one of the 4 black guards, Shadowless Sword, who killed without leaving a trace. His 7 short swords suddenly disappeared in front of Li Fan and Yushi, but Yushi retreated a few steps, arriving in front of Li Fan, waving the black saber in her hand a few times. Dang, dang, dang. The 7 black short swords were struck away by her one after another. Although Shadowless Sword was powerful, it had no way to hurt Li Fan in the slightest. This is the first time I've fought with you, but I do have some skill. Shadowless Sword sneered, but you only have one eye, so you won't be able to discover my sword. With that, a short sword stabbed into Yushi's shoulder, forcing her to take a step back. She pulled out the black sword and stopped the wound. Hee, you seem to have internal injuries. Shadowless Sword sneered, how can you fight me with your current strength? Don't underestimate me. Yushi immediately said, even if I'm injured, I won't let you succeed. How stubborn. Shadowless Sword's mouth twitched. Since that's the case, the commander shouldn't blame me for killing you. Humph. Yushi suddenly stopped defending and attacked. She held the black blade and instantly appeared in front of Shadowless Sword, swinging the long blade repeatedly. Shadowless Sword kept retreating while 7 black short swords appeared before him, fending off Yushi's attacks over and over again. But Yushi's attack rhythm was very ferocious. The 7 short swords were slowly disintegrating, seemingly unable to withstand Yushi's sharp attacks. Li Fan watched the show from the side. He had to admit that Yushi's blade technique was indeed beautiful. Clean and efficient, without the slightest bit of sloppiness. Shadowless Sword seemed to be proficient in assassination techniques, but in terms of defense, he was indeed a bit lacking. Yushi suddenly broke through all the black swords and slashed towards Shadowless Sword's face. But Shadowless Sword slightly tilted his body and dodged Yushi's attack. At the same time, he stabbed Yushi's lower abdomen with 2 fingers. Puff! Yushi's waist exploded with a burst of chi. This was the real Shadowless Sword, shadowless and formless, yet it could take a life. Yushi vomited a mouthful of blood and retreated a few steps, clutching her lower abdomen as she half-kneeled on the ground. Her previous internal injuries had caused her reaction speed to be much weaker. In this way, it was clearly not enough to defeat Shadowless Sword. But she would definitely fulfill the words she had said. Therefore, Yushi stood up again and continued to exchange blows with Shadowless Sword. At the same time, Murongying and the commander looked like they were going to fight at any time. But the two of them just stood there, neither of them making the first move. When experts fought, whoever made the first move would be easily seen through and defeated in one blow. Therefore, the two of them only looked at each other quietly, both looking for flaws in the other. And for some reason, the commander actually felt a trace of anxiety. This was a feeling that a man with a godly skill should not have. The reason for this was one thing: this woman was really too strong. She was only a woman in her 20s, how could she have mastered such a godly skill? Even the commander could not help but be jealous of this woman's talent. If she was given a few more years, she might really become the world's #1, a powerful grandmaster of her generation. The commander was a little unconvinced. Since that's the case, let me start the fight. As the commander spoke, he stretched out his right hand and grabbed at Murongying. But Murongying just stood there calmly and said mockingly, "I'm afraid your minor phaseless technique is ineffective against me." Murongying said, "As long as I use my chi to block all parts of my body, your chi will not be able to seep in and you will not be able to capture me. As expected of the Alliance head, your use of chi has already reached the pinnacle." The commander could not help but praise, "If you were given a few more years, I'm afraid even I would not be able to defeat you." "Oh." Murongying raised her eyebrows, "I might have heard wrongly. Earlier, you said that you can defeat me, right?" "You did not hear wrongly. That is exactly what I meant." "Then I will have to correct you." Murongying raised her hand and a huge sword chi suddenly descended from the sky and slashed towards the commander. "I am the Martial Alliance head." Murongying's right hand sank while the commander's left hand held the huge sword chi. His knees bent and he was almost forced to kneel on the ground. This Murongying's sword chi is so powerful. But the commander's strength lies in the fact that the minor phaseless technique not only can be used for long-range attacks, it also has a powerful defense. Although Murongying's sword chi is powerful, it is unable to break through the commander's defense and injure his flesh. With a push of his hand, the sword chi was deflected to the side. Boom! A huge ravine immediately appeared on the roof. Even the swimming pool was split into two. "What powerful sword chi!" the commander praised, "but since it cannot injure me, what's the use of it? Ordinary sword chi is indeed unable to injure you." Murongying suddenly stretched out two fingers, "But Murongying's ultimate technique is the cherry blossom sword." With that, countless sword chi shattered and turned into the shape of cherry blossoms, which pounced towards the commander. Chapter 250. Turning Nothingness into Reality. The great commander should have thought of this long ago. This was Alliance Master Murongying's most astonishing talent. The great commander had never comprehended even one of the three realms of martial arts. But this young Murongying had comprehended turning nothingness into reality. Turning nothingness into reality. Once one reached this realm, one could turn the impossible into the possible. The great commander was jealous. If he had this kind of talent, then how many people in the world would be his opponent? He would have become a stronger grandmaster long ago. He was only one step away from the level of a grandmaster. The great commander's strength had already cultivated to the state of 9 dragons. As long as he cultivated another dragon, he would become a 10-dragon expert and become a grandmaster. The great commander was already surrounded by these cherry blossom sword energies, but he let out a disdainful laugh. "Even so, they can't hurt me at all. My little phaseless divine art has been cultivated to the 9th level." The great commander was full of confidence in his divine art. In order to cultivate the 9th level of the little phaseless divine art, he could not even have sex. He was already so old, but he still maintained his virginity. This was really too difficult for a man. If not for the great commander's strong willpower, he would have collapsed long ago. So what? Murongying waved her hand, and the cherry blossoms continuously cut the great commander's body, quickly enveloping him in a sea of flowers. Ding ding dang dang. The great commander's true chi and sword energies continuously collided, creating dazzling sparks. If not for the divine art protecting his body, the great commander would have already been cut into mincemeat. I already said, it's useless. The great commander was very proud, but a cherry blossom suddenly cut through his defense, tearing his skin and leaving a bloody mark. The great commander was speechless for a long time, and even more cherry blossoms had already enveloped him. Break! He roared, and the true chi on his body vibrated, attacking the surroundings and blowing away Murong Ying's sword energies. I underestimated you, the great commander stared at Murong Ying. I didn't expect you to cultivate sword energies to this level. Since that's the case, this sovereign will not hold back. This sovereign is the master of the embroidered uniform guard, a gift from the great commander. The way the commander spoke had changed, as if he was a different person. The true chi on his body surged. His clothes were stretched open, and his body seemed to expand a little. It was all supported by the true chi. This was another way of using the minor phaseless technique. It could greatly increase the strength of a great commander. The commander threw a punch in Murong Ying's direction. Murong Ying moved sideways and dodged the attack. Bang! The advertisement board behind her was immediately left with a huge fist print. The commander-in-chief had brought out his true strength. It was extremely shocking. Meanwhile, the two peak experts had begun their real battle. The two black guards were also entangled with each other. Li Fan sat by the side and felt like a spectator. This feeling really made him a little uncomfortable. Become stronger. Li Fan had never wanted to become stronger so much. But the current him was not strong enough, so he could only watch helplessly as others fought for him. Why was this feeling so uncomfortable? At this time, Yushi could not hold on any longer. She was knocked back by Shadowless Sword in 2 moves and was seriously injured. She knelt on the ground and leaned on her black saber. It seemed that she could not hold on any longer. How ugly! Shadowless Sword sighed. The dignified heartless saber of the embroidered uniform guard actually ended up like this because of a man. Now, you can't even lift your saber. What ability do you have to protect him? I, naturally have my ways. As Yushi spoke, she stood up with the help of her black saber and leaned against Li Fan's side. I never fail to make a promise. As she spoke, Yushi actually took the initiative to kiss Li Fan's lips. Although Yushi's body was seriously injured, she sent her true chi into Li Fan's body through her pure yang body. The strength of a black guard. Yushi's realm was at the peak. Her true chi was a total of 5 dragons. And at this time, under her initiative, she sent almost all of her true chi into Li Fan's dantian. She only kept 1 dragon for herself to use to prolong her life. At this juncture, you still want to be romantic? Shadowless Sword naturally did not know Yushi's intention and was still mocking. I think the Heartless Saber should be renamed to the Amorous Saber. As he spoke, he stretched out his hand and 2 black swords floated up. One flew towards Li Fan and the other towards Yushi. Let's become a pair of doomed mandarin ducks. But at this time, Li Fan suddenly opened his eyes. After absorbing the power of 4 dragons, Li Fan instantly refined 3 dragons and integrated them into his dantian. In this way, in terms of true chi, he was already a great master of 5 dragons. Just a kiss from Yushi made Li Fan's strength quickly rise to the peak. This had a lot to do with him opening the God-connecting meridian. If not for this God-connecting meridian, Li Fan's dantian would probably burst. He suddenly opened his eyes and a pair of eyes almost emitted a dazzling light. Li Fan stretched out 2 fingers and flicked the 2 black swords. Clang! Clang! The 2 black swords were directly bounced off and stabbed into the ground. You've worked hard. You've fulfilled your promise. Li Fan gently put Yushi aside and let her sit on a chair. Leave the rest to me. Impossible. Shadowless Sword could not believe his eyes. How could a mere high school student be able to so easily bounce off his shadow sword? This was not scientific. She do something to him? She could actually make a person suddenly reach the peak of strength? How was this possible? Interesting. Shadowless Sword looked at Li Fan as if he was looking at a corpse. You were probably lucky just now, but that's it. I, Shadowless Sword, will personally end your life. You can rest in peace. With that said, the other 5 shadow swords shot towards Li Fan, but Li Fan did not retreat. Instead, he moved forward with the crane's hand and easily knocked away the shadow swords that flew towards him. Impossible. This time, Shadowless Sword was finally shocked. He did not dare to believe that his unparalleled martial arts could not even defeat a small high school student. Did he take drugs? There's always someone better out there. Li Fan's expression was very calm. I just happen to have the power to teach you a lesson, that's all. Bullshit. You're still far from that. Trash. Shadowless Sword called back the 7 shadow swords and shot them towards Li Fan together. No matter how fast he was, it was impossible to deal with 7 swords at the same time. This time, he was dead for sure. Chapter 251. Li Fan doesn't know how long his 5 dragons' strength can last. However, he had to get rid of Shadowless Sword during this 5 dragon power period. The 7 black swords turn into black lightning and instantly appear in front of Li Fan. If he is not careful, he will die without a complete corpse. This was how experts fought. There was no such thing as stopping at a certain point, because every move was filled with killing intent. Although the 7 black swords are very fast, in Li Fan's eyes, they seem to slow down infinitely. Great Sage Star Plucking. Li Fan stretches out his hands at lightning speed and grabs the black swords in front of him. In a blink of an eye, Li Fan has already grabbed the 7 black swords in his hands. His powerful internal energy makes Li Fan's strength even higher. The 7 black swords in Li Fan's hands shocked Shadowless Sword. Return them to you. Li Fan used the 7 black swords as hidden weapons and threw them towards the Shadowless Sword. But Shadowless Sword is also at the 8th level of Minor Formless Divine Art. He stretches out his hand and the 7 black swords stop in front of him. I didn't expect you to break through to the Great Perfection realm. Shadowless Sword looks at Li Fan a few more times, but you are still not as good as me. Next time, I'll take your head. With that, Shadowless Sword's palm trembles and the 7 black swords shoot out in all directions. It is as if he is waiting for an opportunity to kill Li Fan. But Li Fan advances instead of retreating. Instead, he pulls out an afterimage in the air and quickly arrives in front of Shadowless Sword. Protect me. Shadowless Sword's heart tightens. He didn't expect Li Fan to attack directly. Agile Snake bursts out of its hole. Li Fan instantly enters the snake strike state. His right hand is like a snake as it bites towards Shadowless Sword. The 7 black swords protect Shadowless Sword in time. However, when Li Fan attacked with his palm, it swayed left and right like a snake slithering through the grass, knocking away the 7 black swords. Shadowless Sword's body trembled. He didn't expect that Li Fan would actually break through his 7-sword defense in one move. Meanwhile, Li Fan's 5 fingers had already pierced his throat, causing Invisible Sword to instantly suffocate. He knelt on the ground, his face pale. Ape-long fist. Li Fan's fist smashed down without hesitation. However, Shadowless Sword was an expert after all. He sensed the fatal danger. The 7 swords flew over again and intertwined together, blocking Li Fan's fist. At the same time, Shadowless Sword's body slid 7 to 8 meters away. Then, he rolled pathetically and stood up, looking at Li Fan in fear. A crack appeared on Shadowless Sword's mask, and then a part of it shattered. Although Li Fan's fist was blocked by the 7 swords, the fist aura still managed to injure him. This move looked like a great commander's fist technique. Could it be that Li Fan managed to learn most of it with just a glance? What kind of technique does this guy have? To be able to learn another person's move with just a glance, this is not something an ordinary expert can do. At that moment, Shadowless Sword felt a trace of jealousy in his heart. Such a genius might far surpass him in a few years' time. I must take advantage of the fact that he hasn't fully grown yet and kill him with my sword. Thinking of this, Shadowless Sword's killing intent was triggered. Little tyrant Li Fan, today is the day you die. As he spoke, he raised both his hands. The surrounding water in the pool suddenly began to churn. Before Li Fan could react, black short swords flew out from the pool and floated in the air. A total of 36 short swords floated in the air. They were like assassins waiting to execute Li Fan. Good technique. Li Fan could not help but exclaim in admiration. Shadowless Sword actually set up so many black swords in the surroundings. Normally, he wouldn't take them out. But at a crucial moment, he could use them to scheme against others. This was the best. Shadowless Sword had revealed his trump card. It seemed like he wanted to kill him. Li Fan, be careful. Yushi leaned against the chair. She did not even have the strength to move, but she still reminded Li Fan, this is Shadowless Sword's ultimate technique, 36 dippers. This sword technique is like a ghost. If you are not careful, you will be pierced by thousands of swords. Heartless blade, I didn't expect you to be so knowledgeable. Shadowless Sword chuckled, that's right. My 36 dippers have never left anyone alive. This sword has killed a total of 71 people. Li Fan, you are the 72nd person to be sacrificed to this sword. With that, Shadowless Sword pointed at Li Fan. The 36 black swords immediately flew over with the momentum of wind and thunder. But Li Fan still stood there, hands behind his back, as if nothing had happened. The 36 swords arrived in front of Li Fan in a blink of an eye. One by one, they shot towards Li Fan. But Li Fan's expression was still so casual. With his hands behind his back, he strolled towards Shadowless Sword as if he was taking a stroll. Every time a black sword came in front of him, he would turn his body sideways or turn his head, easily dodging those black swords. There were 36 black swords, but none of them managed to hit Li Fan. My swords are clearly very fast. Shadowless Sword did not dare to believe how the opponent was able to dodge his sword formation so easily. It was only after Li Fan's strength had greatly increased that he was able to use his unique eyesight to easily dodge those treasured swords. Otherwise, even if he could see the sword's trajectory clearly, he would not have been able to control his body to perform such exquisite movements. But for the current Li Fan, it couldn't be any easier. Occasionally, when there were black swords that he could not dodge, Li Fan suddenly waved his hand and slapped the black swords away with the crane's hand. It could be said that Shadowless Sword, the world-shaking 36 Tiangang swords, was completely ineffective against Li Fan. Impossible! Shadowless Sword let out a hysterical roar. He could not believe what was happening in front of him. How could his killing move be ineffective? Meteor shower. Shadowless Sword suddenly pointed both of his hands at Li Fan. The 36 black swords in the air pointed at Li Fan at the same time, and like rain, they fell down together. Ha! But at this moment, Li Fan suddenly let out a roar. Shadowless Sword and Yushi's body froze at the same time, and the 36 black swords in the air stopped as well. Not only them, even the commander and Murong-ing, who were locked in a fierce battle, were stunned for a short second. Black Tiger Emperor. Li Fan closed his eyes, and when he opened them again, his entire aura had changed. At this moment, he was like a king who looked down on the world, descending. Shadowless Sword looked at Li Fan in front of him, and he did not know why, but he actually had a feeling of wanting to kneel down. The aura that this man exuded was really strong. Chapter 252. Shadowless Sword only wanted to worship. He had even forgotten that he was this man's enemy. That feeling of a monarch descending upon the world made her feel fear. Even a great commander would not have such a powerful emperor's aura. What was the background of this man in front of her? Wasn't he just an ordinary high school student? For him to have mastered the 5 animal frolics to such an extent, it's truly unprecedented. Murong Ying sensed the powerful aura emanating from Li Fan's body and sighed in her heart. The person he had taken a liking to was indeed not ordinary. Not only are the children of my Murong family extremely talented, it seems that their foresight is also unique. At this time, Li Fan had already walked in front of Shadowless Sword. Go die. Shadowless Sword's 2 fingers pointed at Li Fan's vital points. This was his unique sword finger, which was similar to Murong Ying's sword finger. It contained powerful sword chi. Li Fan stretched out 3 fingers and pinched Shadowless Sword's wrist. His fingers pierced through Shadowless Sword's skin, creating 3 bloody holes. Aw! Shadowless Sword let out a blood-curdling scream. His wrist was in pain, and his body became weak. Li Fan clawed at Shadowless Sword's head again. If Shadowless Sword were to be grabbed, his brain would probably be dug out. But right at this moment, Yushi shouted again. Have mercy. Li Fan's 5 fingers abruptly stopped on the Shadowless Sword's head. Yushi continued, Today, I'll keep you alive, but please keep my friend safe. You treat him as a companion, but he has never thought of you that way. Li Fan glanced at Shadowless Sword, then at Yushi. I'm very curious whether there are any favors left in the embroidered uniform guard. In my opinion, all of you are just a bunch of killing machines. Li Fan voiced out his thoughts. I didn't expect the heartless saber to have a little bit of humanity. How ironic. Arrogant bastard. Shadowless Sword took advantage of this critical moment to break free from Li Fan. He slid back a few steps and glared at Li Fan. You only succeeded in 1 move, that's all. Just that little bit of luck. Shadowless Sword did not want to admit his failure. Don't think that you can defeat the black guards of the embroidered uniform guard with this little bit of luck. You will never be able to understand my true strength. You still don't forget to brag at a time like this. Li Fan stood there with his hands behind his back, looking at the retreating Shadowless Sword. Bullshit, who's bragging? You stinking brat, don't talk nonsense. If you don't believe me, then why are you retreating? Li Fan asked with a smile. I just want to keep my distance from others. What can you do about it? Since you're not afraid of me, take 2 steps forward and we'll fight again. As Li Fan spoke, he stretched out a hand in the shape of a tiger's claw and aimed it at the invisible sword. Shadowless Sword's calf trembled as he subconsciously took another step back. Li Fan, don't be too arrogant. Shadowless Sword was somewhat angered. Could it be that he was really afraid of this guy? He was a black guard of the embroidered uniform guard, a great expert of the embroidered uniform guard. How could he be afraid of this inexperienced high school student? This was illogical and unrealistic. Moreover, the chief was watching. If he lost, how could he face him? 36 Celestial Dipper Swords. Shadowless Sword controlled the 36 black swords and sent them towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan's figure was like a fierce tiger coming out of the mountains. In the blink of an eye, he dodged those swords and instantly appeared in front of Shadowless Sword. What? Shadowless Sword did not expect Li Fan's figure to be so high. Moreover, Li Fan's elbow had already hit his chest. Bang! This time, Shadowless Sword directly spat out a mouthful of blood. Li Fan's palm once again slapped his chin, shattering Shadowless Sword's lower jaw. Then, his palm grabbed his head and slammed him to the ground, smashing a crack on the floor. Today, I owe Yushi a life. Now, I'll return it to you. As Li Fan spoke, he retreated, no longer paying attention to Shadowless Sword who had already fainted. Where are you looking at? While the chief was in a daze, Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword chi pierced towards his eyes. The chief closed his eyelids and actually used the true chi on his eyelids to block the cherry blossom sword chi. He was still somewhat shocked in his heart. The black guard that he had nurtured had actually lost to this Li Fan. What kind of strength did he have to be so powerful? He felt that he had some talent, but he did not expect him to be so powerful. This young man, if he could not keep him by his side, he must get rid of him. Thinking of this, the chief suddenly punched towards Murong-ing. The powerful fist aura rushed towards Murong-ing, but was blocked by Murong-ying's sword chi. Taking advantage of this gap, the chief's figure had already quickly arrived in front of Li Fan. Then, he suddenly punched straight towards Li Fan's face. How dare you! Murong-ing was infuriated. The commander-in-chief had suddenly attacked Li Fan. This was too despicable. However, Li Fan did not move. He just smiled at the commander-in-chief. This smile actually gave the chief the illusion that he was facing an opponent of equal strength, and not a newcomer of the pugilistic world. The chief's fist subconsciously slowed down a little. As for Li Fan, he moved his body to the side and dodged the chief's fist. At the same time, he stretched out both his hands, and like the fangs of a fierce tiger, he ruthlessly bit the chief's chest. Double Black Tiger Steel's heart. However, the chief's minor phaseless divine art was more powerful. The true chi on his body blocked Li Fan's Double Black Tiger Steel's heart. Even so, the chief's body was jolted back 2 steps as he looked at Li Fan in shock. As for Murong-ing, she also jumped over and pointed her 2 fingers at the chief's forehead. The sword chi on Murong-ying's fingers was many times stronger than her cherry blossom sword chi. The chief did not dare to use his body to face it head-on. Instead, he quickly retreated 3 meters away, dodging Murong-ying's killing move. As a chief, you actually used such despicable tricks. How despicable! Murong-ying ridiculed. Uncle, it's not easy. The chief regained his previous playful tone. Looks like I won't be able to kill this kid today. I'm a little envious to have such a beautiful fiancé. How about we switch? You be the chief and I'll marry your fiancé. Dream on. Li Fan rolled his eyes. If you want to snatch my wife, you have to do it over my dead body. Tonight's moonlight is too beautiful. It doesn't seem suitable to kill. The chief looked at the sky. Forget it, I'll let you go. However, the next time we meet, it will be the day of your death. Chapter 253. My fiancé is actually someone that you can summon and dismiss at your beck and call. Murong-ing does not plan to let the commander off just like that. King, I might be giving you some face. This alliance Master Murong has already spoken so ruthlessly, causing the commander to lose some face. Alliance Master Murong, I admit that you can command the world of martial arts. But the embroidered uniform guard is between the pugilistic world and reality. You have no right to order me around. I am not ordering you around. Murong-ing smiles. I am just informing you. The rest will depend on your luck. As she spoke, Murong-ing waved her hand and the 36 black swords that had been tossed aside by the invisible sword immediately flew into the air. Under her control, they began to spin in the air and surrounded the great chief. Alliance Master Murong, one cannot be too rigid. The commander hurriedly says, as the saying goes, leave a way out for others to meet in the future. I do not wish to meet you twice. Murong-ing says without hesitation, I do not care if you are some embroidered uniform guard or something else. Since you dare to provoke my people, then you should have expected the consequences. Murong-ing, don't go too far. Seeing that Murong-ing is unmoved by force or persuasion, the commander is a little angry. So what if I am bullying you? Murong-ing still says in a domineering manner, if you have the ability, then fight with me for a few more rounds. Murong-ing, do you really think that this sovereign is afraid of you? The commander is angered to the extreme, and his entire person changes back to his previous fiendish appearance. This sovereign is only treating you as a junior. In addition, I have some friendship with Murong, which is why I am going easy on you. Until now, I have not used my full strength. He points at Murong-ing, I have already given you face. If you dare to be overbearing again, I will not let you off. Alright, I would like to see if what you say is the truth. Li Fan muttered in his heart, damn, this old man. Maybe Murong-ing will let him go after saying a few soft words. If he insisted on being so forceful, it would be a miracle if Muronging would let him off. Since that's the case, I don't need to show mercy. As the chief spoke, the clothes on his body bulged up again, and his true energy surged unceasingly. What surprised Li Fan and Muronging was that the commander's true chi was still rising. Let me show you the 9th level of the minor phaseless art. The head commander said loudly, submit to this sovereign's feet. As he spoke, he clenched his fists, and the black swords in the sky were immediately crushed into scrap metal. Even Muronging and Li Fan felt somewhat breathless. It was obvious that they were affected by the powerful true chi of this great commander. The 9th level. God's domain. The chief roared, and the area within a 100-meter radius was enveloped by the chief's true chi. This place was collectively known as his God's domain. Li Fan and Muronging found it difficult to even move a single step. Within a 100-meter radius, the density of the true chi was too high. Muronging was still slightly better. After all, her strength was comparable to that of the chief. As for Li Fan, it was slightly more difficult. He felt like he was sealed in a block of ice, and even moving was difficult. As for the chief, he was able to walk around freely, without being affected at all. Right now, the two of you are merely this sovereign's prey. The chief opened his eyes and looked at Li Fan and Muronging. In this God's domain, the two of you are unable to defeat this sovereign. And this sovereign's strength will also take a step forward, stepping into the realm of a generation's grandmaster. Since there is such a convenient cultivation technique, why didn't you use it earlier? Li Fan could not help but ask. Do you think this move is easy to use? The chief was practically gnashing his teeth as he looked at Li Fan, wishing that he could tear him into pieces. If I forcefully use all my true chi, this sovereign will lose the ability to procreate. Li Fan, for you, brat, this sovereign has no choice but to give up the power of a man. From today onwards, you are the #1 enemy of the embroidered uniform guard. Fuck, I am so honored. Li Fan pointed at his nose and said, in other words, because of me, you have become a eunuch? You! Damn it! The chief was provoked by these words and pointed at Li Fan. A powerful chi immediately wrapped around Li Fan's body, as if wanting to crush him. But Li Fan waved his hands. His fingers were like sharp claws, very sharp, and immediately shredded the true chi binding his body. So dangerous. Li Fan retreated a few steps and looked at the powerful chief in front of him. I didn't expect that a eunuch could be so powerful. Brat who refuses a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. You are actually provoking me again and again. The chief's patience had long reached its limit. He also didn't expect that he would be forced to use his ultimate move by a high school student. Was it a wrong decision to recruit him into the embroidered uniform guard? The chief was originally very confident and also very conceited. He had never doubted his own judgment, but this time, he was afraid that he had miscalculated, and the price he had to pay was a bit too big. Li Fan, don't worry. With me here, he won't be able to hurt you. Muronging stood in front of Li Fan and looked at the chief with a deep look in her eyes. I will fight alongside you. Li Fan was not willing to be protected by Muronging. He stood out with an insufferably domineering aura wrapped around his body. I don't care if he is the last eunuch in the new China. If he wants to fight, I will play with him. With that, Li Fan also mobilized all of his true chi. This was the first time this husband and wife fought side by side. Truly ignorant. Do you think you can be enemies with a grandmaster? The chief sneered and raised his right hand. The bricks on the surrounding ground all left the ground and flew into the air. They collided in the air, shattered, and then piled up together. Not long later, a huge marble ball appeared in the air, slowly spinning. The two of you will die today. What Wulin Alliance Master, all of you must die. It seemed that in the eyes of the chief, Li Fan and Muronging had already become corpses. But Muronging did not say a word and only waved her hand. Those cherry blossoms immediately gathered and actually condensed into the shape of a cherry blossom sword, which was held in Murong Ying's hand. With a stomp of her feet, her body was like a fairy descending to the mortal world. She moved forward slightly, and at the same time, her sword stabbed towards the chief's heart. This powerful true qi suppression did not seem to have much effect on her. As for Li Fan, he stuck to the ground and sprinted forward. Although the true qi had a strong effect on him, his hands grabbed the ground, and with the help of the force of grabbing the ground, he quickly approached the chief. The two of them, one in front and one behind, one up and one down, arrived in front of the chief in the blink of an eye. The chief waved his hand, and the huge marble ball in the sky also fell down. Chapter 254. The huge stone ball smashed towards the two of them, but Murong Ying did not care about it. Instead, Li Fan slammed his hands on the ground, and his body bounced up to meet the stone ball in the air. This stone ball was more than a meter in diameter, and its weight was astonishing. In addition to the speed at which he was falling, if Li Fan were to use his own body to block it, it would be no different from hitting a rock with an egg. However, Li Fan was not afraid at all. After he jumped up, he forcefully compressed all the true energy in his body and sent it into his hands. That pair of palms faintly emitted a black light. Double, Black Tiger Steel's heart. Both of his palms suddenly struck out, hitting the stone ball. Bam! The true qi on the palm of his hand immediately exploded, causing the huge falling marble ball to shake. The stone ball stopped falling and suddenly stopped in the air. Li Fan's attack was not over yet. His hands continued to tear, and the stone ball was actually continuously torn apart by his hands, slowly falling down with his body. By the time it landed on the roof, the stone ball had already been completely torn apart, scattering all over the ground. As the saying goes, husband and wife are of one mind, their sharpness can cut through metal. When Li Fan went to deal with the stone ball, Murong Ying had already arrived in front of the great general. Following that, the cherry blossom sword pierced towards the great general's heart. The great general frowned. He extended his right hand and blocked in front of Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword. His true energy controlled Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword, making it difficult for the cherry blossom sword to advance even an inch. After becoming a eunuch, the great general's true energy was already much stronger than Murong Ying's. No matter how sharp Murong Ying's sword qi was, it was impossible for it to break through the great general's control. Do you think you can break through this sovereign's defense? The great general's face was filled with disdain. Murong Ying, you little girl, the gap between you and this sovereign is still too great. However, Murong Ying laughed. The cherry blossom sword in her hand suddenly began to disintegrate. Before the great general could react, the cherry blossom sword turned into countless cherry blossom petals and slapped the great general's face. Dang dang dang. The commander's true qi protected his face, and the cherry blossom sword qi kept smashing into it, creating golden sparks. However, there was still a gap to break through the defense of a great commander. It's useless. The chief sneered. Your sword energy cannot harm me. Murong Ying stretched out a finger and pointed behind the commander. The commander subconsciously turned his head and saw that Li Fan had unknowingly appeared behind him. This Li Fan seemed to have entered the alien bone-changing state. His body was almost 2 meters tall, and his shirt was already torn. His pants had also become cropped shorts, revealing his muscles. Bear cavalry soldiers. Bear King Seal. This palm directly slapped the great chief's back, causing his back to tremble. His heart trembled, and he tasted sweetness in his mouth. What kind of palm technique was this? It could actually injure him. But it was only a little. Just as the commander was about to mock him, Murong Ying's 2 fingers were already on his chest. Pooh! This sword qi finally broke through the defense of the great general and left a bloody mark on his chest. However, the great general's true qi had been trained into his muscles, so Murong Ying was only able to injure him a little before she flicked Murong Ying's fingers away. The eyes of the great general flickered with shock. At this stage, Murong was still able to injure him. As expected of the genius girl who shocked the world, Alliance Master Murong. Her sword chi was indeed powerful. Before the great general could react, Li Fan's hands suddenly grabbed his waist from behind. Wild bear hugging the tree. Li Fan threw himself backwards and actually lifted the great general's body from the ground before smashing him backwards. What kind of person was the great general? Although he was shocked, he immediately stretched out his right hand and supported himself on the ground, stabilizing his body. The true chi on his body exploded and flicked away Li Fan's hands. Li Fan rolled on the ground and stood up again. And Murong Ying's figure swept over his head. The cherry blossom sword in her hand condensed again and stabbed towards the head of the great general who had just stood up. The great general stretched out his hands at the same time and controlled Murong Ying's cherry blossom sword. But Li Fan had also arrived in front of him, and with another Bear King seal, he slammed it on the chest of the great chief. This time, Li Fan took out all his true chi. The power of 5 dragons filled his palm and directly smashed onto the great general's chest. The great general's chest trembled heavily. Li Fan's true chi was like the waves of the sea, crashing into his chest wave after wave. The wounds split open even wider, and in the blink of an eye, it created a terrifying pressure on his heart. Pooh! The great general spat out a mouthful of blood. She sat at the side and couldn't help but be shocked when she saw this scene. Someone had actually broken the great general's 9th layer body. Unbelievable. She had known the great general for so long, but she had never seen the great general's true body be broken. But Li Fan and Murong Ying had done it. One of them was the Alliance Master of the martial arts world, so it was not surprising. But the other was just an ordinary person not long ago. Although he had the help of her true chi, even if she was at her peak, she would not be able to break the great general's defense. All of you, get out of my way. The great general waved his hands, and Li Fan and Murong Ying's bodies were controlled and thrown out. Li Fan rolled on the ground and got up again. And Murong Ying's body did a beautiful flip in the air and landed steadily on the ground. The two of you actually dared to injure me. The great general's eyes were red, but Li Fan chuckled and said, "Great general, why are you angry? Fists and kicks have no eyes, and it is inevitable that they will hurt people. Don't tell me that the great general doesn't even have this bit of bearing. What exactly do you want to say? Just say it." The great general squinted his eyes and looked at Li Fan. "Great general, we have already fought for so long. To be honest, you are also a pugilistic world senior. Is it really good to keep bullying us two pugilistic world juniors?" The great general did not want to say anything, thinking that this Li Fan was too shameless. It was fine if it was him, but could that Murong Ying be considered a pugilistic world junior? That was the famous Alliance Master of the martial arts world, Murong Ying. If this matter were to spread out, you would also be disgraced. You see, as a 5-merit student in the school, I am willing to think for others and am considerate. Li Fan made a suggestion. I have thought of a way for you according to your difficulties. What do you think? What way? Although he hated Li Fan's words, the great general was a little curious. If he defeated Li Fan and the others just like that, it would indeed not be good to hear about it. He and Murong Bo were people of the same generation. If he defeated Murong Bo, then the pugilistic world would recognize him. Defeating his daughter was not considered a skill. Chapter 255. Very simple, how about we make a bet? Li Fan knows that if they continue to fight like this, it will be very disadvantageous for him and Murong Ying. He must think of a way to end tonight's matter. Although this old fellow seems to have no moral integrity, he seems to value his reputation very much. Thinking about it, it is easy to understand. At his age, it is impossible for him to not cherish his own feathers. What bet? Commander, you are very confident in your martial arts, right? Li Fan says. After all, it is a martial art that he obtained from castration, it is impossible for him not to be confident. Of course, this sovereign's divine art is unparalleled in the world. The commander admits without hesitation. That's good. Let's bet on this. Li Fan claps his hands, since you have mastered the divine art, how about you hit me 3 times? If you can't kill me, you can't make a move against me for a year. Li Fan makes such a strange bet, causing Murong Ying and the commander to be surprised at the same time. Murong Ying's consideration is that in a year, Li Fan should be much stronger. Moreover, she will also be much stronger. At that time, she will not be afraid of the king sending her away. However, can Li Fan really withstand 3 palm strikes? Although his martial arts is not bad, he did not learn any defensive martial arts. The commander's consideration is very simple. Li Fan will not be able to withstand 3 palm strikes from him. Even if he is lucky to be alive, he will be a cripple. This Li Fan, who does he think he is? Just because he obtained some of Yushi's power, he dares to challenge me. Fine, it is just what I want. 3 palm strikes to decide the outcome. If I kill him, the world will not laugh at me. Murong's family will also not be able to say anything. Alright, since you are the one who proposed it, this sovereign will agree to it. The commander sneers, however, this sovereign's palm technique is ordinary. Let's change to a fist technique. If I can't kill you with 3 punches, this sovereign promises not to cause trouble for you for a year. Then it's settled. There are your subordinates here and also the martial arts alliance master. They will testify for the 2 of us. What do you think? Sure, no problem. Most of them agreed in unison while sneering inwardly. Because soon, it would be the death of this brat. Since everyone has agreed, let's do it. Li Fan crooked his finger at the commander. You can only throw 3 punches in total. After 3 punches, whether I'm dead or alive will not change anything. Don't worry. This exalted one always keeps his word. With that, the commander-in-chief suddenly punched the air at Li Fan. I'll send you to heaven. Li Fan instantly sensed the chief commander's fist aura. Although this fist aura was fast, his eyesight was extraordinary. Li Fan's body almost touched the fist energy and fell to the ground. His bangs were lifted, and the water tower behind him was directly smashed by his fist aura. The water inside tumbled out and gushed into the pool. Li Fan, on the other hand, stood up and wiped the cold sweat off his forehead. 1 punch has passed. The commander-in-chief frowned. He did not expect Li Fan to be able to dodge his fist aura. The commander-in-chief had calculated that the speed of his fist aura was no less than 50 meters per second. Although it was not as fast as the speed of sound, it was still a terrifying speed. This was equivalent to a car speeding at 180 kilometers per hour. Was it lucky to be able to dodge my fist? Thinking of this, the commander-in-chief could not help but take advantage of Li Fan's inattention to take a step forward and fiercely punch. Li Fan's body turned 360 degrees in the air and fell to the side. Boom! A billboard on the roof of the opposite building was smashed. The neon lights on it flashed randomly, startling the passers-by below. 2 punches already. Li Fan steadied his body, raised 2 fingers and said, "Humph." The commander-in-chief no longer hesitated. He suddenly stretched out his right hand and directly used his true chi to grab Li Fan's body. Li Fan felt as if an invisible arm had grabbed his collar and pulled him to the front. The commander-in-chief's fist was already aimed at him and fiercely punched over. This time, Li Fan had no way to dodge. He immediately raised his arms and blocked in front of his body. At the same time, he entered the sky-swallowing toad state. In this state, he could freely use his true chi. All his true chi gathered in front of him, trying to block the commander-in-chief's punch. Bang! The commander-in-chief felt as if he had hit a wall. However, even if it was a wall, it would still be blasted apart by his fist. Sure enough, Li Fan took the punch head-on. His body was like a broken bag of noodles as he flew backward and fell far away before finally smashing into the ground. Li Fan spat out a large mouthful of blood. This punch directly shattered his defense and swept across his body. He felt as if all the bones in his body were broken. Not to mention other things, at least 3 of his ribs were broken. Every time he breathed, it was especially difficult. His mouth carried the taste of blood. But he still supported his body and half-kneeled. He looked at the commander-in-chief and said, I survived. The commander-in-chief looked at the half-kneeling Li Fan. Looking at his weak and proud appearance, he had the urge to punch him until he exploded. But if he said it, it would be a done deal. He was the commander-in-chief of the embroidered uniform guard. He could not go back on his words. If you want to regret it, you can beat me to death. Li Fan said, anyway, I can't resist. But when the time comes, the Jianghu will at most say that the commander-in-chief of the embroidered uniform guard went back on his words and bullied the younger generation. It won't have any substantial impact on you. Humph. The commander-in-chief flicked his sleeves and turned around. Today, you managed to keep your life. According to the agreement, within a year, this sovereign will not make a move. Keeping your word, this is how a commander-in-chief should be. Li Fan praised. Praising people didn't cost money anyway. However, my subordinates don't have this restriction. You better hope that you can live past this year. With that, the commander-in-chief left without looking back. Yushi had also recovered some of her strength and left with the commander-in-chief. You are really a madman. Muronging also knew that she could not kill the commander-in-chief, so she no longer stopped him from leaving. After they left, she came to Li Fan's side and helped him up. If it wasn't for your protective chi, even if you didn't die from this punch, you would have been crippled. Hee, don't be afraid, I still have your life-saving golden pill. Li Fan chuckled and took out the golden pill from his bosom. If it really doesn't work, I will use the golden pill to extend my life. Why do you still have it? Such a precious thing, I can't bear to eat it. Li Fan had a distressed look on his face. This is my trump card. When there is no other choice, I will take it out and use it. For example, this time, didn't I win? You can call this a win. Of course. Speaking of which, you can't do it either. The dignified martial arts alliance master was suppressed by a eunuch. Chapter 256. That eunuch's demonic attack is indeed powerful. Muronging does not have any vanity and frankly says, however, if I am at my peak, even if he has the strength of a generation's master, I can still defeat him. You're not bragging, right? I never joke about a martial arts competition. Muronging very seriously says, why do you think I can become the martial arts alliance's leader? If I don't have absolute strength, I can't get this position. Although a generation's master is strong, I still have a trick up my sleeve. Only when I use my full strength, can I use it. Then why didn't you use it just now? Li Fan quickly asks. Every killer move is equivalent to overdrafting myself. Muronging reminds Li Fan, if I don't recover my full strength, I can't use this move. If I use it forcefully, I will overdraft my life force. In that case, I can't have a child. Ah. Li Fan finally understands the reason why Muronging did not use her unique skill. And today, if the commander was not forced to this point, he would not use that killer move. You must know, I have just recovered my 7 dragon strength. Muronging reminds Li Fan, previously, I have been fighting his 9 dragon strength with 7 dragon strength and still have the upper hand. If I use my killer move, even if he is a generation's master, I can still kill him in an instant. That sounds very scary. Li Fan does not know what Murongying's killer move is, but before she fully recovers her strength, it is better not to use it. Let me send you to the hospital. This kind of small injury, why go to the hospital? My ribs are broken, is this a small injury? Can't you help me apply some medicine? Li Fan's appearance makes Muronging angry. How many times have I said, I am not an immortal, nor a divine doctor. With your injury like this, you must go see a doctor. Do you understand? Alright, Li Fan had no choice but to be sent to the hospital by Muronging. Li Fan couldn't remember how many times he had been hospitalized. Muronging had also helped him get his leave slip. Li Fan didn't have to think to know that the reason was definitely the recurrence of hemorrhoids. The doctor was almost familiar with Li Fan. When he treated Li Fan, he also removed the stitches on Li Fan's body. Young man, although you are still young, you can't ruin your body like this. The doctor earnestly advised Li Fan, if you continue like this, in a few years, your recovery won't be able to keep up. Which hospital did these needles for you? They're quite professional. The doctor muttered for a long time, but Li Fan did not dare to talk back to the doctor. He accepted the treatment in silence and ended up wrapped like a mummy. Doctor, how many days should I rest? Li Fan couldn't help but ask. Your ribs are injured. You need to stay in bed for at least half a month. The doctor told Li Fan, if you want to recover, you need to rest for 2 months. Within these 2 months, you are not allowed to do any strenuous exercise to prevent your bones from injuring again. Do you understand? Lying in bed for half a month would take Li Fan's life. Doctor, is there any quick cure? Li Fan begged, half a month is too slow, it's 2 months. Moreover, there is no quick cure. The human body is fragile and needs to be taken care of. The doctor rolled his eyes at Li Fan. Within these 2 months, no matter what sports you are participating in, you have to stay in bed and rest. I might as well kill myself. Li Fan made a bitter face. After lying in bed for so long, wouldn't I become rusty? The doctor asked you to rest, so you should rest. Before Muronging left, she told Li Fan, wait until your body is full of vigor before you think about other things. If I don't go to class for many days, my courses will be delayed. When Li Fan said this, he was deeply moved by himself. This is the consciousness of a good student. Don't worry. There are 2 people who will come to tutor you. After saying this, Muronging left. Tutor me? Who? It should be Lin Yuhsan and Liao Wushuang, right? These 2 women better not meet each other. If they do, it will be very lively. Lying in the hospital bed, Li Fan couldn't calm down. I am going to be a regular in the hospital soon. In the future, there will be a lot of patients. Can they give me a 20% discount or something? Li Fan muttered to himself. Feeling sleepy, he couldn't help but slowly fell into a nap. After sleeping for an unknown amount of time, he suddenly woke up and found a figure standing beside him. This figure was dressed in black with a gilded vest. This person was slim, tall, and had a pair of long legs that were very eye-catching. This was none other than the woman who had a grudge with Li Fan, Yushi. At this moment, Yushi's face was a little pale. She stood there as if a gust of wind could blow her down. You're here. Li Fan looked at Yushi in front of him, not knowing why she came. However, he was injured now. If Yushi really made a move against him, he could only wait for death. I'm not here to kill you. I don't have that ability. Yushi said lightly, I just came to see if you're still alive. Sorry, I'm still alive. Do you want to stab me? For now, I don't want to kill you. Yushi said, even if the commander gives me a mission, I won't kill you. Why is that? Aren't you very rigid? The internal affairs of the embroidered uniform guard are also very complicated. Yushi's words had a hidden meaning. Anyway, don't worry. I just came to see you. I don't have any other intentions. That's interesting. Li Fan looked at Yushi up and down a few more times. His gaze seemed to be able to tear off Yushi's clothes, causing Yushi to blush slightly. The dignified black guard of the embroidered uniform guard, could it be that you've taken a fancy to me? Nonsense. Yushi glared at Li Fan, I've dedicated my life to the embroidered uniform guard. I don't fall in love or get married. Moreover, Men are animals that think with their lower bodies. I don't want to find a man. It's not good for you to beat a man to death, right? Li Fan defended the man. You're full of chauvinism. Anyway, the matters between men and women are fleeting. Yushi said very seriously, it's enough for me to have a knife. Damn. Can a knife make you orgasm? You want to die, then come and kill me. Yushi was so angry with Li Fan that she didn't know what to do. You're still not being serious here. Right now, you're already in the top 3 of our blacklist. I don't know how many embroidered uniform guards are waiting to take your life. Does that include you? Li Fan didn't seem to care. Instead, he smiled and asked the beautiful black guard in front of him. I want to cut off your tongue first. Chapter 257. Aya, what should I do? When Li Fan heard that his tongue is going to be cut off, he seems to be very afraid. My entire body, but my tongue skill is the best. You want to die. Although Yushi is more rigid, she is not ignorant after all. She instantly understands the meaning behind Li Fan's words. She unsheathed her saber subconsciously, and a touch of cold light shines on Li Fan's face. Hey, if you don't agree with me, you want to draw your saber? Li Fan's face does not have the slightest fear. Instead, he says with a mischievous smile, all right, if I die under a peony flower, I will be a romantic ghost. To be able to become a ghost under your saber, beauty you, I am satisfied in this life. Glib tongue. Yushi does not want to kill Li Fan, but she is indeed angered by Li Fan. If you say another useless word, I will send you to the Western Paradise. How can this be called useless words? Li Fan laughs, this is to communicate the feelings between the two of us. Beauty you, don't you think that by saying a few words like this, the distance between the two of us will be pulled closer? It's not that the distance between us has been pulled closer. Yushi gives a very good explanation to Li Fan, it's that the distance between you and the grave has been pulled closer. I didn't realize that our beauty you is also sharp-tongued. Li Fan looks at Yushi with some surprise, not bad, beauty you, your tongue is also trained well. I will cut off your tongue first. Yushi is a little flustered and exasperated. Li Fan hurriedly pacifies her, all right, I will not speak anymore, okay? That's more like it. Yushi nods in satisfaction and sheaths her saber. Other than coming to see you tonight, I have one more thing to ask you. You absorbed my power, is it because you really have a pure young body, or is it some other devil technique? Why aren't you talking? Didn't you not let me speak? Li Fan righteously says. Yushi does not know whether to laugh or cry, why are you like a child, you can speak now. You women are always so different. Fine, if you want me to say it, I will say it. I really do have a pure young body. How is it? Do you want to kill me even more after hearing this? However, Yushi shook her head. No, the pure young body is yours. Fortune and misfortune go hand in hand. You just have to take care of yourself. I haven't told anyone else in the embroidered uniform guard about this secret. If you can keep it, it would be better if you don't tell anyone else. What's the matter? Do you think that my pure young body will bring me trouble? Li Fan raised his eyebrows when he heard this. In this world, there are 2 kinds of people that can kill you. Yushi reminded Li Fan, one of them is someone who cultivates the legendary Vairocana Heart Sutra. With this technique, they can absorb your pure young body into their bodies. Damn, he's so sick. When Li Fan heard this, his heart skipped a beat. Fortunately, other than him and Lu Xinnan, no one else knew the whereabouts of the Vairocana Heart Sutra. However, he didn't know how Lu Xinnan's analysis of the Imperial Jade Seal was progressing. Did she have any important breakthroughs? What about the second kind? The second kind is also rare, but it's not impossible. Yushi continued, in this world, where there's light, there's darkness. Where there's yang, there's yin. With your pure young body, if you meet a woman with a pure yin body, she can use some techniques to suck you dry and obtain the power of your pure yang body. Through the fusion of yin and yang, she can obtain the legendary divine art of unification. The power of yin and yang is unparalleled in the world. She can use this technique to defeat everyone in the world. What? Fuck, Li Fan couldn't help but curse. What's wrong with you? Yushi was a little curious. This was the first time she saw Li Fan with such a shocked expression. Nothing, Li Fan sorted out his emotions. At the same time, he thought in his heart, I knew that Murong didn't have any good intentions in loving that little fart girl. Sure enough, it's like this. So this was the reason why she had drugged him with the bewitching potion. Murong AI, the next time I see you, I, as your brother-in-law, will spank your little butt until it's rotten. In the future, you just have to be more careful. Yushi said as her gaze fell outside the window, the two of us are enemies. I shouldn't have come here. Tonight, just pretend that I didn't come. That won't do. How can I forget such a beautiful woman just like that? Li Fan continued to talk nonsense. You have so many beautiful women around you. Will you still remember me, a person with a disability? Yushi asked coldly. Disability? How are you handicapped? Li Fan began to play dumb. Yushi didn't say anything. She just used her hand to touch her right eye. Yushi's left eye was as beautiful as spring water. It was watery and lovely. And her right eye, which should have been so beautiful, was replaced by a black eye patch. I think it's very cool. Li Fan said. Cool your ass, why don't you believe me? Li Fan said seriously, the ancients have a saying, flaws don't cover up jade. Although you can't see it with one eye, you can't hide your charm. Beauty you, the first impression you give people is really amazing. Li Fan added in his heart, if only he wasn't so fierce. Really? Hearing this, Yushi was slightly stunned. She didn't know why, after more than 10 years of hard work, she had trained her heart to be as still as water, unmoved by external things. But when it came to Li Fan, she would always be shocked. Yushi didn't hate this feeling. Because this feeling made her feel that she was more like a human. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? Li Fan hurriedly emphasized, you're an embroidered uniform guard. To you, a lie will be seen through in minutes. That's true. Yushi felt at ease and accepted Li Fan's compliment. So, you don't have to feel inferior at all. You're really beautiful. In theory, I have to admit that I have some special feelings for you. Yushi's character was different from other girls. She was very rigid and very frank. She directly said to Li Fan, before I came here, I specially checked the book. If you like someone, you'll often think about him. I've been thinking about you these days. I should like you. Yushi's frankness made Li Fan speechless. Originally, he wanted to tease her, but she was so honest, how could he tease her? However, I'm an embroidered uniform guard, and you're a wanted criminal. Yushi continued, I can't like you, so I will restrain this feeling. Wouldn't it be over if you killed me? Li Fan felt that he was courting death by asking. Killing you will only make me remember you forever. Yushi said without hesitation, I won't do such a stupid thing. Most of my liking for you is curiosity. When I get to know you for a long time and discover your shortcomings, I will hate you. Chapter 258. The heartless saber was not heartless. On the contrary, she displayed boldness and straightforwardness towards her feelings, without any concealment at all. In this aspect, she was much cuter than Murong Ying. I've said too much to you tonight. Yushi glanced at the moon, it was already getting late. I'm leaving, don't miss me. This sentence sounded like an order, and it was somewhat resolute. However, Li Fan suddenly called out to Yushi. Wait a moment. What else is there? Before I leave, I'll give you a gift. What? Before Yushi could react, Li Fan suddenly grabbed her hand. Following that, a wave of true qi spread out from Li Fan's palm and entered her body, causing Yushi to feel a warmth in her dantian. Not long after, she recovered most of her true qi, and her pale face became much more rosy. Yushi was a little puzzled, and just looked at Li Fan. It's returned to its rightful owner, you're welcome. Why did you return it to me? Yushi was very surprised. If Li Fan kept this true qi for himself, it would undoubtedly be of great benefit to him. These were originally yours, I've already borrowed them for a while, they've helped me a lot. Li Fan had sent out so much innate qi, his lips were a little white, but his entire body was still in a good state. My strength has already reached the pinnacle, the rest is for me to slowly cultivate on my own. The missing true qi, I can cultivate for a while on my own. Before he finished speaking, Yushi leaned over and kissed his lips again. Another wave of true qi flowed out from Yushi's body and entered Li Fan's body. Yushi gave about half of Li Fan's true qi, making Li Fan feel much better. Very soon, the embroidered uniform guards will come to deal with you, keep some strength, just in case. Yushi stood up with a red face, you and I will each take half of the strength, this way we can protect ourselves, and we can recover very quickly. You're really thoughtful. Li Fan licked his lips, savoring the aftertaste. But the true qi that we've shared might be a bit uneven. Why don't you kiss me again and I'll help you adjust it? Screw you, go and kiss yourself. Yushi said as she walked to the window. You, take care of yourself. With that, she jumped down and disappeared into the moonlight. This woman might be a little poisonous. Li Fan licked his lips and muttered to himself. Li Fan lowered his head and saw a small porcelain bottle beside the bed. It seemed to be something left behind by Yushi. He opened the porcelain bottle, and there was a slip of paper inside. Li Fan pulled it out and saw that it was a message from Yushi. Bone replenishing pill, a secret healing formula exclusive to the brocade uniform guards. There was only one pill inside, and he didn't know what it was made of. This thing might be a poison. But Li Fan secretly made a bet with himself. If this was a poison, he would admit it. Yushi didn't seem like the kind of girl who would lie to others. Li Fan swallowed the bone replenishing pill. The brocade uniform guards was an organization supported by the government, so they definitely had a lot of money. Naturally, there were a lot of elixirs that burned money. After Li Fan took the bone replenishing pill, he felt as if the energy in his dantian was being guided, and it began to spread out to the surrounding meridians. This true qi gathered on his broken bones, forming a kind of nutrient, and it actually made the bones recover faster. Li Fan's body recovered faster than ordinary people, and now that he had the bone replenishing pill, his recovery speed was much stronger. Li Fan sat cross-legged on the bed, his eyes looking at his nose looking at his heart, and he entered the inner vision mode. His eyes looked at his muscles and bones, which were constantly recovering. At the same time, he activated the sky-swallowing toad state, which made it easier for him to circulate his true qi. Abnormal bone changing, Li Fan condensed his true qi into the shape of ribs, and attached it to his broken bones. This way, even if his bones didn't recover, he could rely on the bones formed from true qi to move freely. This method was very convenient, different from Murong Ying's materialization. Li Fan's abnormal bone changing allowed his true qi to freely circulate in his body, strengthening his body at will. The existence of true qi was something that science couldn't prove, and it was very magical. Li Fan gave it a try, then dispersed the true qi in his body, and quietly lay back on the bed to sleep. The melodious sound of a flute echoed in his ears, as if it brought Li Fan into another world, making him feel very at ease. Yushi stood on the roof of the hospital, playing the flute. I didn't expect the black guard, who kills without blinking an eye, to be so good at playing the flute. Yan Kai stood at the side, one hand on his belt, as if he was ready to fight at any time. Yan Kai, your qinggong is too weak. Yushi put down the flute and looked at Yan Kai, Wudong's #1 flute master. You don't live up to your name. Every profession has its own specialization. Yan Kai immediately defended himself. Besides, using a qinggong-like cloud ascension ladder would dirty my Qiao 12. Being controlled by external objects, this isn't the mentality a martial artist should have. Yushi lectured. Motherfucker, I actually got lectured by a girl. Yan Kai felt very uncomfortable. Ever since his strength had regressed, it seemed like anyone could bully him. Wait until the day this Taoist master's strength returns, then I'll make you all submit to me. Then we'll talk about it when that day comes. Yushi put away her flute. Since you're here, protect him for me. This is really strange, you're a genie guard, why are you protecting Li Fan? Yan Kai couldn't help but ask. All of this has nothing to do with the genie guard, it's all out of my own will. Yushi looked at the waning moon above her head. I don't understand it myself. Before she finished speaking, she turned her head and glanced at him. Some little mice are coming, I'll leave them to you. After saying that, she leaped and disappeared in front of Yan Kai. Damn, this woman really likes to appear and disappear mysteriously. Yan Kai was particularly impatient with women's matters. He was too lazy to pay attention to Yushi, because two black figures had appeared downstairs of the hospital. Late at night, the inpatient department was very quiet, the patients were all asleep. This time, I'm going to avenge my father. Di Yao's son, Di Gang, wearing a mask, hurried over. Beside him was his helper, named Chen Yijie. Although the two of them were not members of the Genie Guard, they had a blood feud with Li Fan. This Li Fan killed Di Gang's father, so Di Gang naturally wanted to kill his enemy with his own hands. This kid is staying in the high-class ward on the 5th floor. Chen Yijie had already inquired about Li Fan's residence, and reached out to press the elevator to the 5th floor. Idiot, why are you taking the elevator? Di Gang pulled Chen Yijie. In the TV series, taking the elevator is a sure death. Take the stairs. Brother, you're being too cautious, it's good to be cautious. Hurry up, kill Li Fan, not only can we take revenge, but we can also leave our names in the pugilistic world. Chapter 259. Di Gang's words really attracted Chen Yijie's attention. Why did they wander in Jianghu? It was all for fame and fortune. No one knew where this Li Fan came from. Almost overnight, he gained his own name in Jianghu. Little Overlord Li Fan, his name was really like thunder piercing the ears. It was said that he alone killed the Imperial Secret Service's 1,000 households master Di Yao. Things in Jianghu were that simple. Sometimes, if you want to be famous, you only need to fight with a famous master. If you win, from now on, there will be a place for you in Jianghu. Now this Li Fan not only has a name in Jianghu, but also has a feud with Di Gang for killing his father. As the saying goes, one stone kills two birds. Di Gang came here tonight to kill his enemy, and at the same time leave his name in Jianghu. He was also quite unconvinced. His strength was already good, but why didn't he have a name in Jianghu? This kid named Li Fan used some unknown means to defeat his father. When I see him, I will definitely let him understand what a real master is. Brother, that kid is too strong, what should we do? While on the stairs, Chen Yijie couldn't help but ask. Someone who can defeat my father. His martial arts should not be bad. Fuck, we haven't seen him yet, why are you so busy boosting others' morale and diminishing our own prestige? Di Gang couldn't help but give him a punch. I have already inquired about it. That Li Fan is only at the level of ascension. The reason why he can defeat my father is because he used some despicable means. Only at the level of ascension? Of course, with the strength of us two brothers, if we join hands, we can definitely kill him. Di Gang said, there is no lack of people fishing for fame in Jianghu. This Li Fan must be one of them. Don't forget, tonight is the night we become famous. Yes, overnight fame. Hearing this, Chen Yijie couldn't help but start thinking. Yes, as long as he and Di Gang become Li Fan, then Li Fan's fame will belong to them. They couldn't defeat Di Yao, but defeating Li Fan wasn't a problem. Di Gang and Chen Yijie had already gone up to the 4th floor and arrived at the door of the 5th floor. The hospital was very quiet at night. Everything was so quiet, as if everything was in a deep sleep. The corridor was still filled with the smell of disinfectant, which made Di Gang and Zhang Ruiqiang a little uncomfortable. However, victory was right in front of him. Li Fan was just a novice, and it was said that he had been seriously injured recently and was lying in the hospital. The two of them were experts. Killing a patient was a piece of cake for them. As Di Gang thought of this, he became more confident. At the same time, he took out a dagger from his sleeve. Today, this dagger would drink blood. But before their dreams could come true, a man stood at the entrance of the 5th floor. The man wore a green coat and carried a large box on his back. His eyes were closed as if he was taking a nap. Wait! Di Gang suddenly stopped Chen Yijie and cautiously looked at the man in front of him. Although this man didn't make any movements, for some unknown reason, Diao felt a dangerous aura coming from him. Who the fuck are you? Get out of the way. Chen Yijie said, clenching his fists and preparing to attack. He practiced the Hong fist, which was very powerful. Seeing a door god standing in his way, he immediately couldn't hold back his anger and prepared to go all out. However, Di Gang inherited his father's calmness and once again stopped his brother. Who is your excellency? However, the other party was still standing there, silent, as if he was still sleeping. Although I don't know who your excellency is, today us two brothers have something to do here, so I ask your excellency to make way. Di Gang cupped his fists and said. The green-robed man finally spoke. Go back. What big words. Chen Yijie was furious, jumping up and punching the green-robed man's face with his fists like cannonballs. This green-robed man was none other than Guan Wenbao. The green-robed man's eyes snapped open, and his pupils seemed to emit lightning, causing Chen Yijie to tremble in fear. Then, Guan Wenbao immediately raised his foot and kicked Chen Yijie. This Chen Yijie came quickly and left quickly. Almost in the blink of an eye, he was kicked out and fell hard to the ground floor. Di Gang stood downstairs and stretched out his hands to catch Chen Yijie. However, this huge impact forced him to take 2 steps back, and finally, he stepped on the wall behind him to stabilize his body. Di Gang was horrified. What kind of strength did this green-robed man have to be able to push him back so far? I'll say it one last time, go back. Guan Wenbao said coldly, otherwise, I won't be polite. What a joke, us two brothers, do you think we're afraid of you? Although he was surprised by Guan Wenbao's strength, Chen Yijie thought that with his and Di Gang's strength, if they joined hands, they would be able to defeat him. Sir, this matter has nothing to do with you, but if you insist on blocking the way, don't blame us brothers for being ruthless. Di Gang clasped the dagger and made up his mind. Tonight, Li Fan must die, no one can stop them. If God obstructs, kill God, if Buddha obstructs, kill Buddha. Come at me. Guan Wenbao was in charge of guarding the stairs today. These two idiots did not walk through Yan Kai's territory, but chose to walk through his place. It was their bad luck. Di Gang and Chen Yijie, one holding the dagger and the other clenching his fist, pounced towards Guan Wenbao from the left and right. The two of them were full of confidence. Guan Wenbao did not make a sound, nor did he retreat. He just untied the box on his back and threw it on the ground, making a loud clanging sound. The box was kicked open by him, and the crescent moon blade and the blade's handle popped out. Guan Wenbao stretched out his hand and grabbed the crescent moon blade with both hands. After the combination was completed, he shook the blade and used total annihilation, the blade facing the two people in the air. Di Gang and Chen Yijie were so scared that they almost peed their pants. Why did a large blade suddenly appear out of nowhere? You can't play like this, it's too shameless. Di Gang hurriedly raised his 2 daggers and blocked Guan Wenbao's blade. His body was swept away and crashed into Chen Yijie. The two of them smashed into the wall at the side, causing a crack to appear on the wall. Their bodies were like hanging paintings, hanging on the wall for a while before slowly sliding down. Last chance, either scram or die. Guan Wenbao held the crescent moon blade horizontally and stared at them, scaring Di Gang and Cheng Yijie so much that they almost peed their pants. Cheng Yingjin, who appeared out of nowhere, was too scary. Di Gang and Cheng Yijie looked at each other and saw the fear in each other's eyes. Hero, spare us, we'll leave. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.